Chapter 26 Showdown. Wang Qingkai knew that he was finished. C. When she first developed a relationship with King Bei, she was only in pain, and she kept thinking about how to get revenge on him and how to kill him. However, only half a month later, when she developed a relationship with King Bei again, she forgot all the pain and was completely lost in confusion. A few hours later, Chu Yukin came to patrol the north courtyard and was stunned for a moment when she heard the sound coming from the room. When she was patrolling in the east courtyard just now, she clearly saw Mu Zixuan and 3 other women there. How could there be such a sound in the north courtyard? Could it be that a man sneaked into the north courtyard and had an affair with the maid in the north courtyard? This is not okay. Then Chu Yukin came outside the room where the sound came from, poked a hole in the paper on the door, and took a look at the situation inside the room. Seeing this, Chu Yukin was stunned for a moment. She quickly closed her eyes, turned away with a blushing face, and murmured as she walked, "This little scoundrel brought a woman back without even saying a word to me." She thought that a man from the outer courtyard came in and had an affair with the maid from the inner courtyard, but it turned out that Lu Chen himself was doing bad things. Seeing the scene just now, Chu Yukin felt even more restless. Chu Yukin quickly ran her skills to stabilize her mind, and constantly reminded herself not to think too much. At sunset, the sun gradually sets in the west, and the sky is filled with fiery red sunset. Mu Zixuan and the Zhou sisters came to the north courtyard talking and laughing. The 3 of them naturally knew what happened in the north courtyard. At this time, in a room in the north courtyard, Wang Qingkai was lying in Lu Chen's arms, motionless. The fiery red light shone into the room, turning Wang Qingkai's snow-white skin into a bronze color. At this time, Wang Qingkai had completely woken up. She knew she had been fooled. No, it should be said that everyone was fooled. The entire Great Xia Dynasty was deceived. King Bei, the man in front of him who took away his innocence, could never be a waste. After her innocence was taken away by King Bei last time, she was in a state of extreme anger, so she never considered the possibility that King Bei was not a waste. But now that I think about it, there are doubts everywhere. First of all, Bei Wang was able to play with her for several hours. This was completely impossible for ordinary people to do. Ordinary people did not have such physical ability, not to mention the rumors that Bei Wang had been drained of his body by drinking and sex. Moreover, King Bei was able to block the power in her body without anyone noticing, which also proved that he was not simple. In addition, after Bei Wang drank Ruinjin powder today, nothing happened at all. How could this be an ordinary person? Could this be the useless prince that people call him? What a joke! If people who are fine after drinking Ruinjinsen are trash, then there are probably not many people in the world who are not trash. As for Bei Wang saying that he had a headache and was weak after drinking Ruinjin powder, it now seems that he was obviously pretending, just to let her help him into the room so that he could do things more easily. When Wang Qingkai thought of this, she felt extremely regretful. She was so stupid that she actually believed that King Bei had been infected with Ruinjinsen. But there's no point regretting it now, it's happened. At this time, Wang Qingkai whispered, "My lord, you have actually known my identity for a long time. At this point, there is no need to keep pretending, it's time for a showdown." Lu Chen was able to instantly seal her power, obviously knowing that she was a 9th grade warrior, and he was able to resist the influence of Ruinjin powder, which also proved that he knew what Ruinjin powder was. There's no point in continuing to pretend. Hearing Wang Qingkai's words, Lu Chen stroked Wang Qingkai's smooth jade back and said with a smile, "What's your identity? What are you talking about, Qingkai? Why can't I understand?" Wang Qingkai continued, "My lord, you better stop pretending. You can seal the power in my body instantly. This is not something ordinary people can do, and it is impossible for you not to know my identity. Tell me what you are going to do with me. Now that I have fallen into your hands, I am at your disposal whether you want me to be killed or chopped into pieces." Hearing this, Lu Chen turned over, placed his hands on both sides of her head, and looked at her condescendingly. Why should I kill you? My 8th emperor brother was so kind to me and sent me a 9th grade beauty, but I ended up killing her like this. Isn't that how unkind of me? Wang Qingkai was startled when he heard Lu Chen's words. Sure enough, King Bei already knew that she was sent by the 8th prince. Wang Qingkai then chuckled and said, everyone in the world says that King Bei is a waste. Even His Majesty drove you to Beijun because he didn't like you. But you never defended yourself and even came here simply. North County. King Bei is hiding so deeply, so he must have a bigger conspiracy. Now that I know that you were all pretending before, are you sure you won't kill someone and silence them? Wang Qingkai looked straight at Lu Chen with her beautiful eyes. She didn't think she could survive. After all, she has lost all her skills in front of King Bei, and King Bei cannot be an ordinary person. Maybe the mysterious master who has been rumored by the outside world is actually King Bei himself. Lu Chen raised his hand at this time, caressed Wang Qingkai's charming cheek, and then said lightly, if it were someone else, it might be possible to kill you. But this king is different. Not only will I not kill you, I will also let you become my slave girl, my concubine, and give birth to children for me. Hearing Lu Chen's words, Wang Qingkai was stunned. But then she sneered. Lu Chen asked doubtfully, why, are my words ridiculous? Wang Qingkai said, it is indeed ridiculous. Does the prince think that I will serve you wholeheartedly by your side? Even if you seal my power, I can still commit suicide when no one is around. Lu Chen said with a smile, suicide? I am very curious about your reason for committing suicide. Wang Qingkai said, Your Majesty wants to lock me in the palace as a tool to vent my anger, and also asks me why I want to commit suicide? Your Majesty thinks I will endure such humiliation in order to survive. Lu Chen said calmly, I didn't say that I would keep you locked up in the palace forever. I will release you later. Wang Qingkai's brain froze. What did she hear? King Bei said he would release her? How can this be? They have already shown their cards, and if they let her go, wouldn't it be like letting the tiger go home? The fact that King Bei has been able to pretend to be a waste for so many years proves that he is a very scheming man. How dare he do such a risky thing? Or is it that King Bei is so confident that he will not be able to leave Yancheng? Lu Chen saw Wang Qingkai's astonished expression, and then asked, Why, do you think it's weird? Wang Qingkai came back to her senses and asked, Aren't you afraid that after I leave Buwang Mansion, the news will spread that you are not a waste? Lu Chen said calmly, First of all, no one will believe your words. Secondly, I don't think you will tell anything about me. After cultivating a relationship twice, Wang Qingkai's favorability score has now risen to 90. Especially today's relationship cultivation, it can be said that Wang Qingkai has been conquered directly. There is no possibility of betrayal if the favorability level exceeds 80, not to mention that her current favorability level has reached 90. Chapter 27 Wang Qingkai's Choice. Wang Qingkai fell silent after hearing Lu Chen's words. Indeed, even if she goes out and says that King Bei is not a waste, it is unlikely that anyone will believe her. After all, Bei Wang's image of a waste has been deeply rooted in the hearts of the people. In addition, since Bei Wang came to Beijun, he has done nothing and has fun in Bei Wang Mansion every day. There have been rumors in Beijun that the king of Bei kept many beautiful maids in the Buwang Mansion and hung out with these maids all day long, soaking in wine pools and meat forests. However, Wang Qingkai was a little confused. Why did King Bei think that he would never tell anyone? Does he believe in himself so much? Doesn't he know that he has always wanted to take revenge on him after he did something that was outrageous to both humans and gods? At this time, Lu Chen let go of Wang Qingkai's delicate body and got up from the bed. While putting on his clothes, he said, Okay, you can go back. Hearing this, Wang Qingkai looked at Lu Chen in disbelief. Are you really going to let me go? Lu Chen smiled slightly and then said, do you think I am the kind of person who likes to joke? Wang Qingkai stopped talking and started to get dressed. After a while, Wang Qingkai walked out of the palace cautiously. Standing at the door of the palace, she still couldn't believe it. She turned to look at the plaque of the palace, with mixed feelings in her heart. She just came out like this? Did King Bei really not do anything to her? Wang Qingkai quickly sensed her own skill, and her skill returned at this time. If Bei Wang didn't plan to let him go, it would be impossible to break the seal on her inner power. After all, she was a 9th grade warrior, and it was not easy to catch a 9th grade warrior. Wang Qingkai then turned around and quickly returned to Beiwa Tower with an uneasy heart. Along the way, she had been paying attention to her surroundings, fearing that King Bei would take action against her on the way. As a result, she returned to Beiwa Tower, and still no one took action against her, not even following her. After returning to Beiwa Building, Wang Qingkai stood on the attic of Beiwa Building, looking in the direction of Buwang Mansion, and couldn't help but think that it seemed that Buwang was serious. I didn't expect Bei Wang to be so courageous. Wang Qingkai sighed. The more generous Bei Wang was, this proved that Bei Wang was stronger. The fact that King Bei is not afraid of telling his story shows that he is not afraid of the consequences of exposing his strength. This also shows that the current king of Bei is probably full-fledged. Wang Qingkai's emotions are a bit complicated. What should he do now? Is it possible that she really wants to betray Yanyu Pavilion, betray the Wang family, and betray the 8th prince? Sitting on the attic, Wang Qingkai looked into the distance quietly, with the breeze blowing on her face. At this time, Lu Chen's figure appeared in her mind again. Immediately afterwards, the scene that had just happened was replayed in her mind, and for a moment, her body became extremely hot and restless. Wang Qingkai sighed. She has discovered that she seems to be addicted to the feeling of developing a relationship with King Bei. Although it was only twice, the feeling this time has been engraved in her heart. If King Bei died one day, it would be hard for her to imagine how she would calm down her restless body without him. She didn't know how Bei Wang did it, but none of that mattered anymore. What was important was that she couldn't live without Bei Wang. And she thought for a moment, even if she cooperated with Sui Yulo to kill King Bei, she would still be nothing more than a tool to the 8th prince. After all, she is just a killer raised by the Wang family and has no identity, so whether she is with the 8th prince or with the Northern King, there is actually no difference. In addition, she didn't know that King Bei had used a method to make her body unable to leave him, so becoming King Bei's woman was her best choice. Wang Qingkai then looked in the direction of the North Palace and said softly, "My lord, you win." As her words fell, the pressure on her body seemed to dissipate instantly. She also understood why King Bei was so confident and let her go. She couldn't help but sigh in her heart, King Bei was really a terrible man. Fortunately, she was a woman. If she had been a man, she would have been dead long ago. Just then, an old woman appeared in the attic. "Holy girl, there is a letter from the Blood Moon Tower, asking us to find out as soon as possible whether the mysterious master is still in the North Palace. They will be able to reach Yanqing in 5 days. Wang Qingkai said expressionlessly, "I know, I will personally go to the Buwang Mansion tonight to test them." In the dead of night, a black figure appeared at the door of Buwang Mansion. This black figure easily bypassed the palace guards and quickly entered the inner courtyard. There are not many powerful warriors in the outer courtyard of the palace, so it is not surprising that someone can sneak in, but not everyone can enter the inner courtyard. As soon as the black figure arrived at the inner courtyard, he was blocked by a woman in white before entering the door of the inner courtyard. Chu Yukin looked at the man in black in front of her and said coldly, "Not everyone can enter the palace." After the words fell, Chu Yukin stabbed the woman in black with her sword. The figure of the woman in black flashed and easily dodged Chu Yukin's sword. Chu Yukin frowned and suddenly had a bad feeling in her heart. A 9th grade warrior? It looked like he was here to assassinate Chener. Just as Chu Yukin was sitting in the car and continuing to take action, the woman said, "Mrs. Chu, I have something important to discuss with the prince, and I would like to ask Mrs. Chu for your convenience." Hearing this, Chu Yukin sneered and said, "We have something important to discuss? I'm afraid you are here to assassinate him." Chu Yukin couldn't remember when Lu Chen had interacted with a 9th grade warrior other than herself. Although this woman's voice sounded familiar, Chu Yukin still didn't dare to be careless and could only regard her as a female assassin. Then Chu Yukin swung his sword at the woman in black. The woman in black seemed to have no intention of confronting Chu Yukin and kept dodging. Not long after, Lu Chen in the main courtyard heard the noise outside, and he immediately opened the door and came out. Lu Chen has a system that can quickly identify a person's identity, even if the person is wearing black clothes and veiled. Seeing that the woman in black was Wang Qingkai, Lu Chen raised the corners of his mouth slightly, and then said to Chu Yukin, "Aunt Chu, she is mine, let her in." After hearing Lu Chen's words, Chu Yukin was stunned. She was very puzzled in her heart. When did Lu Chen have subordinates who were 9th grade warriors? And the other party is a woman? She had never heard of or seen any other 9th grade warriors around Lu Chen. But Chu Yukin soon felt relieved. After all, there were too many things she didn't know about Lu Chen. Chu Yukin had no choice but to get out of the way, but she still threatened Wang Qingkai and said, "If you dare to harm Bei Wang, then you will not be able to leave Bei Wang's mansion." Wang Qingkai ignored Chu Yukin's threat and entered Lu Chen's room directly. After entering the room, Wang Qingkai took off her veil. At this time, Lu Chen took a look at Wang Qingkai's whole body. At this time, Wang Qingkai was wearing a tight-fitting black dress, which perfectly highlighted her curvy figure and looked unique. Lu Chen asked with a smile, "You came to me again less than 2 hours after leaving the palace. Do you want to have sex with me again?" Wang Qingkai smiled charmingly and said, "The prince is joking, but the slave family is not as powerful as the prince. The slave family came to the prince this time to tell him that the people from the Blood Moon Tower will arrive in Yancheng in 5 days, and in order to kill you this time, they sent 5 9th level warriors here, including the deputy owner of the Blood Moon Tower. Everyone is out." Chapter 28 It's You. After hearing Wang Qingkai's words, Lu Chen didn't show any uneasiness on his face. He had long read the information from Wang Qingkai's personal information that Suiyu Tower sent people to assassinate him. However, he did not expect that Blood Moon Tower would send so many 9th level warriors to kill him this time. Isn't it said that there are very few 9th grade warriors in this world? Why are 9th grade warriors everywhere now? In order to assassinate a useless prince like himself, is it really good to send 5 9th grade warriors here? If he didn't have a system, he might be dead. Seeing that there was no worried look on Lu Chen's face, Wang Qingkai thought to himself that, sure enough, King Bei was already full-fledged and he was not afraid of the assassins of the Blood Moon Tower at all. Lu Chen came up behind Wang Qingkai at this time, then put his hands under her armpits, hugged her waist and whispered in her ears, smiling and saying, "It seems you have made a choice. However, you betrayed my 8th emperor brother like this. Aren't you afraid that he will send people to kill you?" Wang Qingkai said coquettishly, "This is not caused by the prince himself. The slave family is now your woman and can't live without you. The slave family has no choice. What can I do? I just hope that the prince can take pity on the slave family in the future and not treat the slave family like a tool and throw it away after use." Lu Chen smiled and said, "This is natural." Having said this, Lu Chen laid his head on Wang Qingkai's fragrant shoulder, enjoying the fragrance of Wang Qingkai's body. Lu Chen was thinking in his mind that the people from the Blood Moon Tower would be here in a few days. Although he had Desert Eagles and modern firearms like battery in his hands, if there were many people on the other side, he would be restrained by someone. He may have been in danger as soon as he took out the weapon. Therefore, his own strength must be enhanced. It is best to be able to break through to the level of a 9th level warrior within these few days. The physical fitness of a 9th level warrior will be greatly improved in all aspects. Even if the assassins in the Blood Moon Tower are very fast, with the help of their 9th grade strength, Desert Eagle and Bartley will still kill them like chickens. However, although weapons are useful, you still have to stay alive. If someone from the opponent suddenly attacks you, and your perception is not enough, even if you have the ability to kill with one shot, you will probably be killed by the enemy in advance. At this time, Lu Chen asked the system in his mind, "System, how much experience does it take to upgrade the Qi refining technique to the 2nd level?" The system's voice immediately sounded in Lu Chen's mind. 100 more experience points are needed. Hearing this, Lu Chen felt happy. Can he upgrade to the 2nd level if he still has 100 experience points? So fast? Lu Chen then asked, after the Qi refining technique is upgraded to the 2nd level, will my realm be able to break through to the 7th level? Lu Chen's question was a little more conservative. Originally, he was thinking that if the Qi refining technique broke through to the 2nd level, his strength would probably be able to break through to the 9th level. At this moment, the system sounded. After the Qi refining technique is upgraded to the 2nd level, the host's realm will be raised to the 9th level. Lu Chen was a little excited, as he thought, he was really promoted to the 9th level. But having said that, the Qi refining technique is just a Qi refining technique. It mainly increases his power and has no actual lethality. From now on, he still has to find a way to obtain lethal external skills. At this time, Wang Qingkai, who was being held by Lu Chen, felt something strange about Lu Chen's body. Wang Qingkai's fair complexion instantly turned rosy, and then a blush spread from her face to her collarbone and neck. At this time, Lu Chen whispered in Wang Qingkai's ear, "From now on, you are my slave girl. As a slave girl, do you know what you should do for your master?" Wang Qingkai was slightly stunned when she heard this question. She had only been toyed with by this guy all afternoon during the day, and she didn't expect that this guy was still energetic at night. How could Bei Wang have such strong physical ability? Wang Qingkai was a little shocked. She had been in Beiwa building for so long, but she had never heard of that man being as ferocious as King Bei. Wang Qingkai then said, "Your Majesty, the slave family is just here to report the letter. Now that the letter has been delivered, the slave family will go back first." At this point, Wang Qingkai turned around and wanted to push Lu Chen away, but found that her skill had disappeared again. She was suddenly weak and unable to push Lu Chen away. Lu Chen immediately hugged Wang Qingkai and walked towards the bed. Now he must seize the time to gain experience points for the Qi refining technique, but he cannot let Wang Qingkai run away like this. Wang Qingkai finally sighed, feeling a little confused. After becoming Bei Wang's slave girl, she didn't know what the future would be like. With confusion about the future, Wang Qingkai quickly immersed herself in the happiness that Lu Chen brought to her. At the same time, outside the yard, after Chu Yukin saw the woman in black entering Lu Chen's room, she kept guard at the door of the courtyard. If something happened in the room, she would rush in immediately. She still didn't trust the woman in black. That was a 9th grade warrior. She didn't believe that the woman in black had no other purpose in approaching King Bei. But at this moment, Chu Yukin heard the woman's cheerful voice coming from the room. Chu Yukin was stunned. That 9th grade warrior is actually Chener's woman. 9th grade warriors are relatively rare in this world, and 9th grade women are even rarer. As a 9th level warrior, Chu Yukin found it incredible that the woman in black was willing to become a woman who was nominally a good-for-nothing prince. Chu Yukin was a little curious as to why this woman chose Lu Chen. Early the next morning, Wang Qingkai limped out of Lu Chen's room, but as soon as she came out, she met Chu Yukin who was still at the door of the courtyard. Seeing that it was Wang Qingkai who came out of the room, Chu Yukin's face darkened and she said coldly, "It's you." A 9th-level warrior went to Beiwa Tower to work as an Waran, and even came to approach the king of the north. Who would dare to believe that there was no conspiracy? As a maid beside Lu Chen's mother and concubine, Chu Yukin had never seen any kind of conspiracy, so she thought that Wang Qingkai must have some plot against Lu Chen. Seeing that Chu Yukin was still there, Wang Qingkai was stunned for a moment. In the end, Chu Yukin held back and did not take action. After all, Lu Chen had already said that Wang Qingkai was his. However, Chu Yukin still warned coldly, "Although I don't know who you are, I have to remind you that if you let me know that you have plans for Chen'er and want to use him to achieve your ulterior purposes, not only will it's you, and the forces behind you will all have to pay the price." Hearing this, Wang Qingkai smiled slightly, and then said, "Mrs. Chu, why do I feel that you are so hostile to me? Is it possible that Mrs. Chu was jealous after listening to Jiang Zhener all night last night?" As soon as Wang Qingkai finished speaking, a strong wind spread out with Chu Yukin's body as the center, and Chu Yukin's skirt was blown up. Seeing this scene, Wang Qingkai's smile disappeared instantly. A half-step master, he has even reached the point of releasing his inner strength. The Buwang mansion was indeed not as simple as she thought. Then Wang Qingkai turned around and left. "Mrs. Chu, I will go back today. Madam Chu, please rest assured. I am just the slave girl of the prince, and I can't shake your position in the heart of the prince." Chapter 29 Let me go. Watching Wang Qingkai's leaving figure, Chu Yukin fell into deep thought. A 9th-grade warrior? He actually said she was Chen'er's slave girl? If Lu Chen was now the prince of the Great Xia Dynasty, Chu Yukin wouldn't be surprised at all if he had a 9th-grade female slave. After all, the prince had real power. But in the eyes of outsiders, Lu Chen was an uneducated, dissolute waste. This Wang Qingkai would actually take the initiative to become his female slave? Is it possible that the forces behind Wang Qingkai have discovered Chen'er's disguise? Or is it that the forces behind Chen'er are the forces behind Wang Qingkai? At this time, Chu Yukin came to the door of Lu Chen's room. She thought she needed to remind Lu Chen. Just in time, Lu Chen came out of the room and saw that Chu Yukin's face was a little serious. Lu Chen asked curiously, "Aunt Chu, what do you want to see me for?" Chu Yukin asked, "Chen'er, does Wang Qingkai come from the force behind you that supports you?" Hearing this question, Lu Chen was confused. What was the force that supported him? Does Aunt Chu think there is some force behind her? Lu Chen thought for a while. He had been acting too abnormally recently. In addition, he had taken out modern firearms such as the Desert Eagle and battery. This might have made Chu Yukin think that there was a powerful person behind him. Force support. Thinking of this, Lu Chen smiled and said, "Aunt Chu, how do you know?" There is definitely no way to talk about the system, but in order to make Chu Yukin feel at ease, Lu Chen planned to make up a lie. Chu Yukin sighed, and then said, "Chen'er, that woman is not simple, she is a 9th-level warrior. Auntie actually doesn't want to interfere too much in your affairs, but when it comes to your personal safety, I still want to remind you. The force that supports you must have a big conspiracy. Although I don't know their purpose yet, you don't want to be led by them all the time. If you want that position in the capital, just tell your aunt and I will tell your grandpa. When the time comes, your grandpa and the Chu family will definitely be on your side. There is no need for you to rely on those forces of unknown origin." The Chu family had no intention of giving up on Lu Chen, but it turned out that Lu Chen was dead and couldn't support him. In addition, he had been driven to a desolate place like Beijun, which forced the Chu family to consider other candidates. After all, Lu Chen is the grandson of the head of the Chu family. In terms of blood relationship, he is the closest among the princes. If Lu Chen could stand up and dare to stand up boldly and express his intention to participate in the battle for the heir, not to mention the Chu family, most of the Jiangnan aristocratic families would support him. From Chu Yukin's point of view, there was no need for Lu Chen to rely on those unknown forces. Hearing Chu Yukin's words, Lu Chen smiled slightly, then walked to Chu Yukin's side, and then naturally took Chu Yukin's hand. With Lu Chen holding her hand like this, Chu Yukin's delicate body couldn't help but tremble, but she didn't break away. After all, they used to hold hands and talk about things. Lu Chen said at this time, "Aunt Chu, I know what you are worried about, but I can assure you that the force behind me completely obeys my orders. There are some secrets that I cannot tell you directly. Once I tell them, I am afraid that not only Daxia but the entire world will be in chaos, but I can reveal some things to you." Chu Yukin's heart trembled slightly. What secret was so terrifying that it would lead to chaos in the world? At this time, Lu Chen raised Chu Yukin's beautiful hand, and then wrote the word immortal in her palm. After feeling the words written by Lu Chen, Chu Yukin was immediately shocked, and a trace of panic appeared on her dignified and elegant face. As we all know, this world is a world of martial arts, and there are no immortals. Even if someone reaches the legendary realm of heaven and humanity, they only have a few hundred more years of life and they will still die. Countless people have tried various methods in order to become immortals, and emperors from countless dynasties have searched for immortals everywhere in order to become immortals, which eventually led to the collapse of dynasties and the replacement of dynasties. However, immortals are only distant legends in this world so far. And now, Lu Chen actually told Chu Yukin that the secrets about him were related to immortals. How could this prevent Chu Yukin from being shocked? If Lu Chen's secret is really related to the immortal, it may really lead to chaos in the world, not only chaos in the world, but also the destruction of countless dynasties. Chu Yukin said in a panic, "Chener, you don't have to say anything anymore. From today on, don't reveal the content of these two words to anyone, including me." Lu Chen asked, "Aunt Chu, do you believe it so quickly?" Chu Yukin said, "I can't help but not believe it. The mysterious weapon on your body and your sudden internal strength have proven that what you said is related to those two words." Having said this, Chu Yukin still asked with some worry, "Could it be that Wang Qingkai and the forces behind her are also related to those two words you said?" Lu Chen shook his head and said, "No, I just have the means to control them so that they cannot betray me. If they betray me, they will die. So far, I am the only one who knows this secret, because I am the only inheritor." Hearing this, Chu Yukin felt a little excited, and tears fell unconsciously in her eyes. Seeing this scene, Lu Chen was stunned. "Aunt Chu, why are you crying?" Chu Yukin quickly rolled up her sleeves and wiped her tears. While wiping her tears, she said, "If your mother knows that you can have such an opportunity, she will definitely be very happy." Chu Yukin originally thought that Lu Chen would just go through this life, but she didn't expect that one day he would get immortality. This is something that many people dream of, but it finally fell on Lu Chen's head. As Chu Yukin, who had watched Lu Chen grow up since childhood, she was happy for Lu Chen from the bottom of her heart. With immortality, not to mention whether he can live forever, at least Lu Chen can do many things. For example, he can compete for a position in the capital. Lu Chen hugged Chu Yukin's mature and graceful body, then patted her back and said comfortingly, "Aunt Chu, don't cry, don't cry. This is something you should be happy about." At this time, the fragrance of Chu Yukin's body floated into Lu Chen's nose, and the soft and delicate body in his arms immediately made Lu Chen restless. Lu Chen was speechless. The dragon tiger pill was really the source of all evil, leaving him with no ability to control himself at all. Chu Yukin, who was about to say something, suddenly turned red when she noticed something strange. She quickly pushed Lu Chen and said, "Chener, let go of Auntie, now you are also married. It's not good for others to see us hugging each other." Lu Chen did not let go, but leaned into her ear and said, "Aunt Chu, what's the matter? You are the person closest to me. I wonder who dares to gossip. Besides, you have watched me grow up, and we have done more intimate things. What's wrong with a hug? Hearing this, Chu Yukin became even more panicked, and she quickly pushed Lu Chen's body again. As a result, she found that the power in her body had dissipated, and she couldn't use any strength at all. Chu Yukin said quickly, "Chener, don't be like this. You have grown up and are no longer a child. You have to know how to avoid suspicion when it comes to certain things." Lu Chen smiled and said, "Aunt Chu, no matter how old I am, you are still my aunt, and I am also your Chener." Having said this, Lu Chen hugged Chu Yukin very tightly, and their bodies were completely pressed together. Feeling the heat of Lu Chen's breath, Chu Yukin was already a little confused. Chu Yukin's heart skipped a beat. No. This cannot continue. Subscribe to Chinese Novel Audio Wave. Chapter 30. It seems that Chener has really grown up. Chu Yukin felt that if she continued like this, something might happen. Then she said to Lu Chen in shame and anger, "Chener, if you don't let go of Auntie, Auntie will be angry." Seeing Chu Yukin's blushing cheeks and her angry look, Lu Chen had no choice but to let her go. Lu Chen was not in a hurry at this moment. Most women in ancient times cared about reputation. Although Chu Yukin's favorability was very high, she might not be able to accept the relationship with him for the time being. She could just work on it slowly. After seeing Lu Chen let go, Chu Yukin quickly took a few steps back and took a position away from Lu Chen, but she did not continue to blame Lu Chen. Chu Yukin sensed her own skill. After discovering that her skill had returned, she asked curiously, "Chener, my skill disappeared just now. Is this related to your chance?" Lu Chen replied, "Well, this has something to do with the skills I practice. As long as a woman who is deeply in love with me comes into contact with my body, her skills will temporarily disappear and her whole body will be weak." Upon hearing this, Chu Yukin instantly understood what Lu Chen meant. She glared at Lu Chen, then spat with a pretty face, "You little rascal, what are you talking about? I'm your aunt. Okay, I won't bullshit you anymore, I'm going to go on patrol." Before she finished speaking, Chu Yukin turned around and left. To be precise, she turned around and ran away. Chu Yukin felt like her heart was about to jump out of her chest at this moment, and her body became extremely hot. What did she just hear? That little villain is actually trying to get her idea. How dare he think about it, she is his aunt. Although they are not related by blood, he grew up watching them. And she was still a widow. Although she was still innocent and had no sexual relations, she had been married after all. How could he have thoughts about her? But having said that, she herself had gradually lost control just now. When she was in the capital, she often checked Lu Chen's body, but she didn't feel like she did today at that time. Only a few months later, she actually had such thoughts about Lu Chen. Chu Yukin felt a little guilty in her heart. How could she have other thoughts about Lu Chen? Chu Yukin sighed and said to herself, "Well, it seems that Chener has really grown up and become more and more manly. I have to keep a distance from him in the future." Then Chu Yukin began to exercise, trying to calm down her restless body. At this time, Lu Chen stood there and saw Chu Yukin's plump figure and charming back. He suddenly felt as if his body was on fire. Then he immediately went to the north courtyard. At this time, Zhou Yuyu had just gotten up and was about to go to Muse Xuan's place. "Xiao Huan, I'm going to Sister Mu's place first. Come over after you pack up." After the words fell, Zhou Yuyu walked out the door. As a result, as soon as he went out, he met Lu Chen. Without saying a word, Lu Chen directly picked up Zhou Yuyu's delicate body and walked into the room. Zhou Yuyu exclaimed, "Ah, Your Majesty!" Hearing Zhou Yuyu's voice, the maid Xiao Huan who was making the bed quickly turned her head. Seeing Lu Chen hugging Zhou Yuyu, Xia Huan's face instantly turned red. As a maid of the palace, how could she not understand what was going to happen next? Xiao Huan quickly got out of the way, then left the room and closed the door. The host and Zhou Yuyu develop a relationship once, and the experience value of the qi refining technique will be increased by 10, and the experience value of the rejuvenation hand will be increased by 20. Congratulations on successfully getting Zhou Yuyu pregnant and receiving a reward of 10,000 kilograms of breeding potatoes. Rewards for pregnancy are encouraging rewards, so the rewards are less. If you successfully give birth to a child, you will get richer rewards. After his body stabilized, Lu Chen felt much better. Today's events also made Lu Chen realize that he had to break through to the 9th level quickly, otherwise he would not be able to control his body and problems would easily occur. It doesn't matter what he does in the mansion or in the inner courtyard. After all, the inner courtyard is all his own. But if one day after he leaves the palace and goes outside, he still can't control himself when he sees a beautiful woman, it will be a big loss. After calming down, Lu Chen looked down at the little beauty in his arms. Zhou Yuyu's star eyes were slightly closed at this time, her face was red, and her lotus-like jade arms were placed on his shoulders. Zhou Yuyu belongs to the petite and cute type. Lu Chen felt a little guilty when he thought that he had been cultivating a relationship with her recently and that she hadn't had much rest. Although this is his woman, Lu Chen does not regard her as a tool to have children. He really likes them. At this time, Lu Chen took a look at the reward he had just received, and couldn't help but smile. Then he gently touched Zhou Yuyu's skin and said in her ear, "Yuyu, you are really my lucky star." With 10,000 kilograms of breeding potatoes, the entire North County could be planted with potatoes in a few years. Due to the cold weather, Beijun is not suitable for growing rice, and the wheat yield is not very high. But potatoes are different. The soil in North County is just right for growing potatoes. After potatoes are planted in Beijun, Beijun will have one more food ration, and the people will no longer be so short of food. In an agricultural society, what is most important? Of course, food is the most important. Only when you have food in your hands can you be calm in your heart. After Wang Qingkai returned to Beihualu, the old woman from yesterday came to her again. "Saint, how was your inquiry last night?" Wang Qingkai replied calmly, "I have not discovered the existence of that mysterious master for the time being. There is only Chu Yukan, a 9th grade master in the inner courtyard." Hearing this, the old woman immediately said, "Holy girl, since the mysterious master is no longer in Buwang Mansion, let's take action tonight." Wang Qingkai frowned, and then asked, "Grandma you seem to be in a hurry." Chen Yu quickly said, "Holy girl, this mission was originally given to us by the 8th prince. If we wait until the people from the Blood Moon Tower arrive to complete the mission, your status in front of the 8th prince will definitely plummet. We might as well complete the task before the Blood Moon Tower comes, so that the 8th prince can see your value." Wang Qingkai then said, "No need, since the 8th prince has sent people from the Blood Moon Tower here, just to make sure nothing goes wrong. If we act in advance and alert the enemy, leading to the failure of this assassination mission, the 8th prince will be blamed, and our entire Yunyu pavilion will not be able to afford it." Seeing Wang Qingkai say this, Chen Yu couldn't keep talking. A few hours later, Beijun, Yubicheng. A group of people wearing black and red clothes were sitting around in a restaurant. At this time, a bird flew onto the shoulder of a man wearing a bamboo hat. The man caught the bird, took off the paper tied to it from its talons, and then opened the paper and took a look. After reading the content on the note, the corners of the man's mouth raised slightly. "Very good. Now that the Grand Master has left, it's time for you, the good-for-nothing prince, to go down and accompany my brothers." Night. Another black shadow appeared in the inner courtyard of the palace. Different time, same place, same people. After seeing this black shadow, Chu Yukan was about to draw her sword when she heard the black shadow say, "Mrs. Chu, you haven't rested so late. Thank you for your hard work for the prince's safety. It seems that Mrs. Chu really cares about the prince." Hearing Wang Qingkai's voice, Chu Yukan snorted coldly, Sneaky, what does it look like? Although Lu Chen had already told her in the morning that Wang Qingkai was his and that he could completely control them. But for some reason, Chu Yukin always felt a little uncomfortable. She didn't like this Wang Qingkai at all. Wang Qingkai was about to say something when he heard Lu Chen's voice coming from the room. Qingkai, come in quickly. Hearing Lu Chen's voice, Wang Qingkai had no choice but to immediately bypass Chu Yukin and enter Lu Chen's room. When Lu Chen and Wang Qingkai were cultivating their relationship last night, Lu Chen discovered that his qi refining technique did not increase experience points. After asking the system later, I found out that a woman could only provide him with experience points once a day. He had just cultivated a relationship with Wang Qingkai during the day yesterday, and he came again at night, so naturally he had no experience value. There was no other way, so Lu Chen had no choice but to ask Wang Qingkai to come every night these days. He must quickly advance to the 9th level. Updates and adjustments. In the future, updates will be adjusted to 11 o'clock to 1 o'clock noon. I also recommend a book by the author, Weird Resurrection, rewarding the Weird Super Rocket at the start, a harem novel, and Shenhao Invincible. This is a free book for members. If you are a member, you can pay a little attention. Chapter 31 The Function of Rejuvenation Hands. Not long after Wang Qingkai entered Lu Chen's room, her voice came out. Chu Yukin, who was at the entrance of the courtyard, heard her voice and said coldly, "It's so shameless." Naturally, Chu Yukin didn't know how to talk about her Chener, so she could only scold Wang Qingkai. As soon as she finished speaking, Chu Yukin turned around and left. She didn't want to continue listening to Jiang Zhen here, otherwise she wouldn't be able to bear it anymore. At the same time, inside the room, after Lu Chen and Wang Qingkai cultivated their relationship for a while, the system beeped. The host cultivates a relationship with Wang Qingkai once, and the experience value of the qi refining art is increased by 20. This cultivation of relationship triggers an emotional critical strike, and an additional 40 experience points are obtained. The experience value of the rejuvenation hand is increased by 20, and the rejuvenation hand breaks through to the 1st level. Hearing the system prompt, Lu Chen was stunned for a moment, and then became extremely excited. He originally thought that after Zhou Yuyu became pregnant, it would be more difficult for him to break through to the 9th level before the arrival of the Blood Moon Tower, unless Chu Yukin was pushed away. Otherwise, Wang Qingkai could only provide himself with 20 experience points every day, which would take at least 5 days. Maybe within 5 days, those guys from Blood Moon Tower would have arrived in Yanqing. As a result, he gained 60 experience points today. Emotional crit, that's really good stuff. If there were a few more emotional critical attacks, wouldn't it be easier for him to improve his realm in the future? Just when Lu Chen was thinking this, he found that green gas seemed to be emitting from his hands. What is this? Lu Chen raised his right hand, replaced it with his left hand to hug Wang Qingkai, and then looked at his right hand seriously. System, what happened to my hand? This is the ability of the rejuvenation hand. The host can use the rejuvenation hand to treat illnesses and injuries in the future. Hearing the sound of the system, Lu Chen put down his right hand, wanting to test the ability of the rejuvenating hand. When his right hand came into contact with Wang Qingkai's delicate body again, Wang Qingkai couldn't help but let out a cry. "My lord, what are you doing? My waist is so comfortable." Hearing this, Lu Chen's eyes lit up. Unexpectedly, as soon as he touched Wang Qingkai's body, the rejuvenating hand had an immediate effect. Lu Chen soon understood what was going on. It turned out that when he triggered the emotional critical attack before, he was too angry and too fierce, and accidentally hurt Wang Qingkai's waist. Now the spiritual energy gathered on her right hand was helping Wang Qingkai repair the muscle damage in her body, so Wang Qingkai felt very comfortable. The rejuvenating hand technique is quite good. Any minor injuries or illnesses in the future can be recovered quickly. At this time, Lu Chen patted Wang Qingkai's buttocks with his big hand, and then said with a smile, "How does it feel to be my slave girl?" Hearing this, Wang Qingkai's cheeks turned red and his eyes filled with spring as he replied, "My lord, please don't humiliate the slave family." Wang Qingkai didn't know what her future would be like, but she was already used to being with Lu Chen. Although they had only developed a relationship together a few times, she could no longer leave Lu Chen. This bad man not only captured her heart, but conquered her whole being. Lu Chen said at this time, "When I resolve the matter at the Blood Moon Tower, you can move to the palace." After hearing this, Wang Qingkai was silent for a moment. To be honest, she also wanted to come to the palace to serve Lu Chen every day. But she thought of a question, that is, in front of King Bei, can her value be shown only in bed? Although both body and mind are in the shape of Bei Wang, Wang Qingkai does not want to completely become a tool used by Bei Wang to satisfy his base desires. She wanted to show a lot of value in front of Lu Chen. Only in this way could she go further, and King Bei would value her as a slave girl more. Even if one day she becomes old and loses her beauty, if she makes a great contribution to the palace, it is unlikely that King Bei will kill her. Thinking of this, Wang Qingkai said, "Your Majesty, the slave family wants to stay in Beiwa building to collect intelligence for the prince." Hearing this, Lu Chen asked doubtfully, "Don't you want to come to the palace to serve me?" Wang Qingkai quickly said, "That's not the case. The new family just feels that if they come to the palace like this, others will think that the new family is from the palace in the future, and then there will be no way to collect information for the prince. After the assassination of the Blood Moon Tower is over, the 8th prince will definitely not give up. He might even send someone to assassinate the prince. If the prince has the slave family as a chess piece, then no matter what the 8th prince does, the slave family will be able to do it for the second time. Let the prince know as soon as possible." After hearing what Wang Qingkai said, Lu Chen felt that it made sense. Beiwa Tower is a place of fireworks, so it is indeed easy to collect intelligence. And there is a real possibility that his 8th emperor brother will not give up. If Wang Qingkai, the saint of Yunyu Pavilion, is here, maybe he will be able to monitor Lu Shiyun's every move in the future. This is also a good thing for him. Thinking of this, Lu Chen gently touched Wang Qingkai's jade back, and then said, "Okay then, you can continue to stay in Beiwa building. If my 8th emperor brother makes any moves in the future, please inform me immediately." Seeing that Lu Chen agreed to his proposal, Wang Qingkai was very happy. She finally found an opportunity to show her own value. This was a good start, and it also meant that her value was no longer just for Lu Chen to play with. The next day, after getting up in the morning, Lu Chen simply ate something and then went to find Chu Yukin. Seeing Lu Chen's extremely energetic look, Chu Yukin felt a little curious. Why is it that Lu Chen is entangled with women every day, but his body doesn't seem to be affected much? It stands to reason that men will lose their energy if they do things between men and women, and lusting after women is a taboo for those who practice martial arts. Warriors often say, "A woman only affects the speed at which I draw my sword." This statement is not groundless. If you are addicted to female sex, it may indeed slow down the warrior's reaction speed. Chu Yukin thought to herself, could it be because Lu Chen had an immortal connection? So he won't be affected by things between men and women? Seeing Chu Yukin's beautiful eyes scanning her body, Lu Chen said with a smile, "Aunt Chu, is there something on me?" After Chu Yukin came to her senses and realized her gaffe, she coughed quickly and said, "Chener, I found that you have been having sex with men and women every day recently. Although it is important to carry on the family line, you should also pay attention to your health." Lu Chen smiled and said, "Don't worry, Aunt Chu, I know what's going on. By the way, Aunt Chu, I'm looking for you today and I have something to tell you." When he said this, Lu Chen's face became serious. That's what Lu Chen is like. When he talks about business, he won't smile playfully. Seeing that Lu Chen's face was so serious, Chu Yukin knew that there must be something important, so she asked, "Chener, is it something related to the palace?" Lu Chen nodded, "I have sent someone to invite General Li Feng. I believe he will come to the palace soon." Seeing Lu Chen mention Li Feng, Chu Yukin realized that what Lu Chen was going to say might not be simple. At this time, the maid outside came in and said, "Your Majesty, General Li is here." Lu Chen said, "Aunt Chu, let's go to the martial arts training ground first." "Good." After the words fell, the two went to the palace's martial arts training ground. Li Feng, who was wearing armor, was walking around the martial arts training ground. The armor on his body made a clanging sound. He was curious about what important matter the King of the North wanted to find him at this time. After King Bei came to Beijun, he seemed to have done nothing except letting him train the army. Even the princess was responsible for opening the shops, while King Bei was living and drinking in the inner courtyard. Of course, Li Feng always thought that this was King Bei trying to confuse others, making outsiders think that he was a useless prince. At this time, Li Feng couldn't help but wonder, could it be that King Bei came to him at this time because he thought the time was ripe? Can he start his next plan? Chapter 32: A Gift for the Blood Moon Tower. After Lu Chen and Chu Yukin arrived at the martial arts training ground, Li Feng hurriedly came over and saluted and said, "I will meet the prince and Mrs. Chu." Lu Chen nodded slightly, and then said, "Let me get down to business. I got information here that Blood Moon Tower sent assassins to assassinate me. This time they not only sent 5 9th grade masters, but also the deputy of Blood Moon Tower. The host also came in person." Hearing this, Li Feng's expression suddenly changed, and then he asked, "My lord, are you sure that the deputy owner of the Blood Moon Tower is coming in person?" Li Feng had heard about the deputy owner of the Blood Moon building. It was said that that person was already a half-step master, which made him very worried. Lu Chen said, "If the information is correct, he should have come in person." Chu Yukin thought for a moment, and then said, "Suiyu Tower is so courageous that he dares to send people to assassinate you again and again." Lu Chen said, "If there was no one behind them to support them, they wouldn't dare to do this." Li Feng looked at Lu Chen and asked tentatively, "My lord, what are you going to do?" Li Feng knew that Lu Chen had a weapon that could easily kill a 9th grade master, so he thought that King Bei would not be afraid of the assassins sent by Suiyu Tower at all. But since Lu Chen found him, there must be some arrangement. Lu Chen did not answer immediately, but asked instead, "General Li, have you completely taken control of the army in Beijun?" Li Feng replied, "Your Majesty, please rest assured. Thanks to the reorganization of your subordinates, the army of Beijun has completely belonged to Buwang Mansion." Lu Chen said, "This is best. Since the people from the Blood Moon Tower are coming, we should entertain them well. By the way, General Li, go and call the soldiers who escorted me to Beijun later. I have one more thing to tell you." Hearing this, Li Feng asked cautiously, "Your Majesty, in what name did you call them here?" "Those more than 100 soldiers are all 3rd and 4th grade warriors. Even though there are only more than 100 3rd and 4th grade warriors, in a poor place like Beijun, these people can be considered a very powerful force. If they all come here, the North Palace will definitely arouse the curiosity of the people in Yancheng. Moreover, there are still many people watching from the North Palace." After Lu Chen came to Beijun, he has been having fun every day. As a result, so many soldiers were suddenly summoned. It is difficult not to make people wonder if the North Palace is planning to do something big. Lu Chen thought for a moment and said, "Just tell them that their family members have arrived in Beijun. I will take this opportunity to hold a feast to thank them for escorting them all the way, and to meet their relatives at the same time." Li Feng instantly understood what Lu Chen meant, and then said, "Okay, Your Majesty, I will take care of it now." Li Feng then turned and left Buwang Mansion. After Li Feng left, Chu Yukin looked at Lu Chen and said, Chener, the deputy owner of the Blood Moon building, should already be at the level of a half-step master. I can hold him back then, but the other 5 9th level warriors, I'm afraid it will be difficult for me to contain them. Although the mysterious weapon on Lu Chen's body is indeed powerful and can kill a 9th level warrior instantly, if the other party attacks him at the same time, Lu Chen may not be able to react. Chu Yukin was a little worried. There must be more than 6 people coming from Suiyulo to assassinate Lu Chen this time. Last time, they sent many 3rd and 4th grade warriors to assassinate Lu Chen. This time they come to Beijun, they will definitely send many 3rd and 4th grade warriors. Those 3rd and 4th grade warriors were not the main force, but they were able to hold back the people from the North Palace, making it difficult for the people from the North Palace to protect Lu Chen. After experiencing what happened last time, Chu Yukin also realized that her own abilities were limited. Even if she could withstand the attack of a half-step master, there was no way to contain everyone. The last time she faced the assassination attempt at Suiyu Tower, if Lu Chen hadn't taken out the mysterious weapon at the critical moment, she might have lost her Chener forever. Lu Chen understood what Chu Yukin was worried about, and then he said to Chu Yukin, "Aunt Chu, when General Li comes back later, I will show you something." Hearing this, Chu Yukin became a little excited. She guessed that what Lu Chen showed her was a weapon, but she didn't know what kind of weapon it was. Afterwards, the palace began to get busy. After Musician heard that Lu Chen was going to entertain the relatives of the soldiers who had escorted them to Beijun, she took the initiative to take care of the matter. When it was almost noon, many people entered the Buwang mansion. Seeing the carriages and horses coming and going, people were a little curious and thought that the Buwang had taken a concubine again. As the main person in charge of Yanyu Pavilion in Yancheng, Chen Yu felt something was wrong when she saw so many people coming and going from Buwang Mansion, so she disguised herself a little, came to the door of Buwang Mansion, and found a person to inquire about Buwang Mansion. "Sir, is there anything big going on in Buwang Mansion today? Why is it so lively?" Hearing this question, the young man watching the excitement in front of Chen Yu replied, "I heard that the king of Bei is going to entertain the soldiers and relatives who escorted him to Beijun." The young man whispered at this time, "It is said that if it hadn't been for them, King Bei would have died on the way to Bei County." After hearing the young man's answer, Chen Yu was slightly relieved. It turned out to be like this. She thought that King Bei had already noticed. Suiyulo will be coming to Beijun in a few days. If Buwang notices any clues at this time, it will be troublesome. Chen Yu then returned to Beiwa Tower and told Wang Qingkai what happened in the Buwang mansion today. Wang Qingkai was a little confused after hearing about the movements of the Buwang mansion. If Lu Chen planned to make arrangements in advance, he wouldn't start making arrangements now. After all, no one from the Blood Moon Tower had arrived yet. Could it be that King Bei really just wanted to thank the soldiers who escorted him to Bei County? Wang Qingkai always felt a little strange, but now that she was from Buwang, there was no need for her to find out too much about what Buwang was going to do. Besides, she has to go to Bei Wang Mansion to serve Bei Wang tonight. If she wants to know what Bei Wang is doing, she can just ask him tonight. Noon. Lu Chen he said some words of thanks at the banquet, and then let people eat and drink with open stomachs. At this time, Li Feng came to Lu Chen's side and whispered, "Your Majesty, everyone is here." Lu Chen nodded, and then said, "After dinner, come to the backyard of the palace." As soon as he finished speaking, Lu Chen started drinking with the soldiers. It was impossible to tell that he had anything important to do with them later. After lunch, the soldiers came to the backyard drunkenly. Lu Chen said he would reward them, but the soldiers were not fools and knew that King Bei wanted to see them. After arriving at the backyard, Lu Chen glanced at the soldiers. These soldiers were now basically loyal to over 80, and they were considered his own. When Chu Yukin saw that everyone had arrived, she asked, "Chener, what did you say you wanted to show us?" Lu Chen showed a smile, then asked someone to bring in some cattle and sheep that had been slaughtered at noon, and wrapped the cattle and sheep in sophisticated armor. Then Lu Chen took out a grenade that was larger than an adult's fist and said to everyone, "Everyone, step back 50 steps." After hearing this, everyone immediately took 50 steps back without even thinking about it. Immediately afterwards, Lu Chen opened the safety catch and threw the grenade directly. The next moment, a deafening sound came, frightening the already drunken soldiers to the point of losing their drunkenness. After a while, their ears were still buzzing. As the grenade exploded, a cloud of white smoke rose in the distance, and countless holes appeared in the armor wrapped around the cattle and sheep. Seeing this scene, the soldiers were stunned and froze in place, not daring to move. Thunder? Can their prince summon thunder? Real or fake? Is this something a human can do? Could it be that their prince is an immortal? Although some of the soldiers were still confused, Li Feng and Chu Yuqin had already realized that the sound just now was caused by the thing in Lu Chen's hand. But even so, Li Feng and Chu Yuqin still felt extremely shocked. Lu Chen said at this time, "Okay, let's all come and take a look." As soon as he finished speaking, Lu Chen walked towards the place where the explosion had just occurred. Seeing their princes walking up, the soldiers quickly followed. Chapter 33 Breakthrough to Level 9. Lu Chen's grenade was obtained from the novice gift pack, and he had never used it. In order to test the explosion range of these grenades, Lu Chen specially took one out to test it. The grenades in the novice gift pack are much larger than the ordinary grenades on Earth. They are not portable grenades, so they are relatively powerful. After Lu Chen approached the place where the grenade exploded, he found that the armor within 10 meters had been penetrated by the fragments from the grenade explosion, and the bodies of cattle and sheep were full of holes. After the soldiers saw the wounds on the cattle and sheep, they couldn't help but feel a little scared. Fortunately, they were relatively far away just now. If they were closer, their bodies would probably be filled with blood holes. Lu Chen said to Chu Yuqin and Li Feng at this time, "General Li, Aunt Chu, what do you think of the weapon I just used?" Li Feng immediately said, "With such a magical weapon, the prince will definitely be able to rule the world." As soon as Li Feng finished speaking, the soldiers all knelt down and said in unison, "We congratulate the prince on obtaining the artifact. The prince will surely dominate the world and be powerful all over the world." Lu Chen was speechless. "Mater is a bunch of sycophants." "Okay, everyone, get up." After hearing Lu Chen's words, the soldiers immediately stood up again. Chu Yuqin asked at this time, "Chener, wasn't that thing just disposable? Do you still have many more?" Lu Chen said, "Not too many, only a few dozen, but when the conditions are mature in the future, we can make them ourselves." Hearing Lu Chen's answer, Chu Yuqin was extremely excited. With this kind of artifact, it would probably be easier for Lu Chen to compete for the position in the capital in the future. At this time, Lu Chen magically took out a grenade from his sleeve, and then said to Li Feng, "General Li, I will teach you how to use it first. When the Bloody Moon Tower assassins come, you can use this to entertain them." "Yes, Your Majesty." Immediately afterwards, Lu Chen taught Li Feng and the soldiers how to use grenades. Of course, this time he did not directly pull out the safety bolt. After teaching the soldiers how to use it, Lu Chen said to the soldiers, "When King Bei was giving rewards to the soldiers, thunder fell from the palace. King Bei was so frightened that he hid in his room and stayed there all afternoon." When the soldiers heard what Lu Chen said, they immediately understood what Lu Chen meant. After all, the sound of the grenade exploding was so loud that people around the palace must have heard it. If you don't find an excuse, it might arouse people's suspicion. After Lu Chen finished speaking, he had people clean up the backyard quickly, and then he returned to the main courtyard. After Li Feng and the soldiers left the backyard, their relatives gathered around them and asked them what had just happened. Li Feng and others said that there was a thunderstorm in the backyard just now, which shocked the prince. At dusk, the news that Prince Bei's mansion was struck by lightning spread throughout Yancheng. People suspected that Prince Bei had done something unscrupulous and that was why he was struck by lightning. At the same time, Bei Hualu, Wang Qingkai was sitting on the beauty couch in the attic, with Yun Shang half-stretched, looking very lazy. At this time, Chen Yu came to the attic. "Grandma Yu, what's the matter?" Wang Qingkai was the first to ask. Chen Yu replied, "Holy girl, our people heard the news. When King Bei was rewarding the soldiers after dinner at noon, thunder fell from the sky. King Bei was so frightened that he hid in his room and did not come out all afternoon." Hearing this, Wang Qingkai smiled slightly, then got up from the beauty's bed, showing a very interested look. "This is interesting. Is King Bei injured?" Naturally, Wang Qingkai didn't think that Lu Chen was really frightened by the thunder and hid in the room all afternoon and didn't come out. She would only suspect that King Bei was preparing something. As soon as you hear the words "being frightened by the thunder," you can tell that it is diverting people's attention. Chen Yu said at this time, "We don't know this." Wang Qingkai said calmly, "Then I will go to Buwang Mansion tonight to find out the news." Hearing this, Chen Yu said with some worry, "Holy girl, you go to the North Prince's mansion every night, and it is easy to be discovered by Chu Yukan. Before the people from the Blood Moon Tower arrive, I think you should not go to the North Prince's mansion for the time being." "Better," Wang Qingkai said, "you don't have to worry about this. I usually don't go near the inner courtyard and Chu Yukan can't find me." Having said this, Wang Qingkai stood up and prepared to change clothes and go to the North Prince's mansion. In the dead of night, a black figure appeared in the inner courtyard of Buwang Mansion again. At this time, Chu Yukan was still patrolling the inner courtyard. Because of the grenade incident during the day, Chu Yukan was worried that spies would come to the North Palace to inquire about the news, so she was extra serious tonight. When she saw a black figure swaggering in the main courtyard of the North Palace, Chu Yukan was about to take action when she heard the woman in black say with a smile, "I have met Madame Chu." "Good evening, Madame Chu." Hearing Wang Qingkai's voice, Chu Yukan snorted coldly and said, "Take off the scarf." Wang Qingkai took off the hijab without hesitation. After confirming Wang Qingkai's identity, Chu Yukan turned around and left without talking nonsense to Wang Qingkai. Seeing Chu Yukan's leaving figure, Wang Qingkai raised the corners of her mouth slightly, and then said to herself, "It seems that Mrs. Chu really hates me." After the words fell, Wang Qingkai walked towards Lu Chen's room. After entering the room, Wang Qingkai originally planned to ask Lu Chen if anything happened in the palace during the day, but was blocked before he could say anything. Wang Qingkai was speechless. Although she had a great change in her opinion of Bei Wang, she also found that the rumors about Bei Wang's lust were absolutely true. Bei Wang can no longer be described as lustful, he is simply a hungry ghost in lust. Wang Qingkai naturally didn't know why Lu Chen was so anxious. Lu Chen only needed 30 experience points to break through to the second level of qi refining technique. Of course, he was very anxious. He couldn't wait to become a 9th level warrior. As the relationship between him and Wang Qingkai was completed, the system prompt finally sounded. The host cultivates a relationship with Wang Qingkai once, and the experience value of the qi refining art is increased by 20, triggering an emotional critical hit, and the experience value is added by 40. The qi refining art breaks through to the second level, and the experience value of the rejuvenation hand is increased by 10. Congratulations to the host for raising the realm to 9th grade. After hearing the system prompt, Lu Chen calmed down. Then he felt a majestic force pouring into his body. For a moment, his body became lighter, and his whole body seemed to have endless strength. Not only that, he found that his eyes had become clearer and his brain was particularly energetic. After enjoying the strange feeling brought by the improvement of realm, Lu Chen couldn't help but sigh in his heart, "Is this a 9th level warrior? I never thought that one day I would be able to become a 9th grade warrior." When he was in the capital, he always thought that he would just lie down like this for the rest of his life and that he would be an ordinary person for the rest of his life. After all, he had no talent for practicing martial arts and could not endure the hardships of practicing martial arts. Unexpectedly, after obtaining the system, he broke through to the 9th level in less than half a year. Very nice. After improving his own strength, he can be considered to have a certain ability to protect himself. From now on, he can go out for a walk appropriately and plan the future development direction of Beijun. Chapter 34: A Dark and Windy Night. A few days later. Beihualu. When many guests came to the door of Beihua Building today, they found that the door of Beihua Building was closed. There was a sign at the door with a line of words on it, saying that Beihua Building would be closed for renovation in preparation for the Warren Convention in half a month. This kind of thing is not surprising. The reason why Beihua Building has become the most lively place in Yancheng is because the continuous upgrading and renovation of Beihua Building provides guests with many new and interesting things. Moreover, after every upgrade and renovation, many beautiful girls will come. This renovation has also made the guests of Beihua Building look forward to it. Of course, the renovation of Beihua Building this time is not a real renovation, but because the guests of Blood Moon Building have arrived. At this time, in the attic of Beihua Building, a man wearing a bamboo hat was looking in the direction of Buwang Mansion. Wang Qingkai sat on the beauty's couch, her two slender jade legs overlapped, and her buttocks pressed the couch slightly. Lu Yuan said at this time, "Thank you, Miss Wang, for giving me the opportunity to take revenge with my own hands." In Lu Yuan's view, if Yunyu Pavilion wanted to take action against the Northern King, it was entirely possible for them to kill the Northern King without the mysterious master. However, they did not take action. Instead, they waited for Sui Yulu's arrival before discussing how to assassinate King Bei, which gave Sui Yulu the opportunity to take action. Wang Qingkai said with a smile, "Master Lu, I didn't wait until today for you, I did it to ensure that this assassination would be foolproof." Lu Yuan said, "No matter what Miss Wang thinks, objectively she still gives me a chance." At this time, Lu Yuan could not wait to rush into the Buwang Mansion and chop off the Buwang's head with his own hands. Although his younger brother Lu Tong might have been killed by the mysterious master of Buwang Mansion, he still placed the debt on Buwang's head. The reason is very simple. First of all, he is not necessarily the opponent of the mysterious master. Secondly, Lu Tong died because of the assassination of King Bei, which has something to do with King Bei. The mysterious master couldn't be found or defeated, so he could only vent his anger by killing King Bei. At first, he thought that the task of assassinating the good-for-nothing Prince Bei Wang was easy, so he let his younger brother go. Unexpectedly, when he saw Lu Tong again, Lu Tong's body was already burnt. If King Bei didn't die in his hands, it would be difficult to eliminate the hatred in his heart. Wang Qingkai asked at this time, "Master Lu, do you plan to take action tonight?" Lu Yuan said, "Yes, I can't wait to chop off King Bei's head to pay homage to my brother's spirit in heaven." Wang Qingkai said, "Well, our Yunyu Pavilion will fully cooperate with the Blood Moon Tower tonight. If you need anything, Lord Lu, just ask it." Lu Yuan asked, "Miss Wang, just in case, I would like to ask one more question. Are you sure that the mysterious master who came to the palace with King Bei has left?" Wang Qingkai smiled and said, "I went to the palace many times just to inquire about this matter. According to the information I collected, the mysterious master has indeed left the palace and returned to the Chu family." Lu Yuan said, "If this is the case, that would be the best." Wang Qingkai smiled and said, "Master Lu, even if the information we collected from Yunyu Pavilion may be false, you don't have to worry too much. Even if the mysterious master returns to the North Palace again, with your strength, there should be no problem in holding him back. While you hold him back, we can definitely deal with King Bei." Lu Yuan thought for a moment and thought that what Wang Qingkai said made sense. After all, they have 5 ninth grades and 1 half-step master this time. If you don't count the mysterious master, Chu Yukin is only a 9th level master in Buwang Mansion. There is no way that one 9th grade can contain 6 9th grades. So King Bei will definitely die tonight. Even if the mysterious master comes, it will be useless. At this time, Wang Qingkai took out a map of the North Prince's mansion and said, "This is the map of the North Prince's mansion. When we take action tonight, we from Yunyu Pavilion will go directly to the backyard to block the North Prince's escape path. As for the matter in the front yard, just leave it to Suiyu Tower to complete it. I wonder what you think, Lord Lu. If Mr. Lu has other ideas, you can put them forward." Lu Yuan thought for a moment, and then said, "Okay, just do what Miss Wang said. However, if Chu Yukin comes to stop me at that time, could you please ask Miss Wang to hold her for a while so that I can get the head of King Bei? Chu Yukin is a difficult person to deal with. If she comes out to stop him from killing Lu Chen, it might take him a certain amount of time to get rid of her. Although he could let other 9th grade people kill him, Lu Yuan wanted to do it himself." Wang Qingkai said, "There is no problem with this." Then Wang Qingkai said, "Okay, let's make preparations ourselves." At the same time, North Palace. When the Blood Moon Tower arrived at the Beiwa Tower, Lu Chen received the news from Wang Qingkai. He immediately began to mobilize his troops and prepare an ambush in the palace. This time he distributed a total of 20 grenades to the soldiers. These 20 grenades were enough to deal with Lu Yuan and the others. And they didn't throw grenades as soon as they came up. After the people from Blood Moon Tower entered their ambush circle, the soldiers would release arrows first. In the case of a good ambush, even if the people Lu Yuan and others come are at the lowest level of level 3 or 4, most of them will be shot to death by arrows. The grenades are mainly used to deal with the 5 9th grade and deputy building owners of the Blood Moon Tower. In order to prevent Mu Zixuan and his 3 pregnant wives from being frightened, Lu Chen moved them into the secret passage of the palace in advance. After everything is ready, wait for night to fall. The cold wind at night was blowing. There is no moon or stars tonight, and thick dark clouds accumulate above people's heads, as if the sky is about to fall. At this time, the entire North Palace was eerily quiet, except for the sound of wind. After an unknown amount of time, a group of people dressed in black broke in directly from the main entrance of the palace. When Lu Yuan and the others entered the palace, they found no one at the door, not even a patrolling guard. This made Lu Yuan suddenly feel a little bad. The North Palace is such a big palace, it is impossible not to have even one guard. Maybe King Bei knew in advance that they were coming and ran away. At this time, Lu Yuan had no idea that the North Prince's mansion would ambush them. After all, there were enough 9th level warriors coming this time, and they didn't even pay attention to a mere North Prince's mansion. In Lu Yuan's view, even if the Buwang mansion knew that they were coming, the Buwang would only be frightened and run away, and it was impossible to ambush them in turn. Unless King Bei's brain is broken, he would do such a thing. At this time, Lu Yuan's face darkened. If King Bei really escaped, it would probably take some time to kill King Bei. The capital city couldn't afford to wait, and I didn't want to waste time. Then Lu Yuan said to his subordinates, "Search for me. Even if you dig 3 feet into the ground, I will find the King of the North." Chapter 35 Immortal. There is an immortal in the Buwang mansion. Following Lu Yuan's order, people from the Blood Moon Tower immediately poured into the North Prince's mansion. Just when the people from Blood Moon Tower came to the martial arts training ground, countless arrows flew from the sky. At this time, someone shouted loudly, "Owner! We have fallen into a trap." Looking at the rain of arrows in the sky, Lu Yuan didn't panic at all. He just snorted and said, "It's just a death struggle. A 9th level warrior cannot be killed by a rain of arrows, not to mention that he himself is a half-step master and can already release his inner strength outwards. There is no way these arrows can hit him, and even if they hit him, they can't cause him any harm." In his eyes, this kind of ambush and sneak attack was just a small move. Lu Yuan immediately said, "Get closer to me immediately." Hearing this, the people in the Blood Moon Tower quickly turned their backs, and then kept swinging their swords to resist the rain of arrows flying from the sky. Seeing this scene, Lu Chen was shocked. Damn it, is this a world where martial arts exists? The last time he came to Beijun to join the feudal clan, he himself was in the carriage and did not see his own guards resisting the rain of arrows. This scene today shocked him very much. Without using a shield, you can actually withstand the rain of arrows with the sword in your hand? Although some people were not completely blocked and were still shot to death, most people in the Blood Moon Tower survived. Today's scene also made Lu Chen realize how important the frag grenade given to him by the system was. If there were no grenades, I am afraid that with the few people in their palace, there would be no way to deal with the assassins in the Blood Moon Tower. At this time, Lu Chen also felt a little lucky. Fortunately, the novice gift package given to him by the system contained a modern killing weapon such as grenades. As soon as the arrows prepared by the palace soldiers were shot, Lu Yuan looked at the rooftops in the distance and said mockingly, "You want to kill us with just a few arrows? Isn't King Bei a little too naive?" Lu Chen had no intention of talking nonsense with Lu Yuan. He directly said to Li Feng and others, "Ignore them, just throw the grenade, pull the safety catch and wait for 3 breaths." Upon hearing this, Li Feng and others quickly took out the grenades in their arms. At this time, the soldiers holding grenades in their hands could not help but tremble. After all, they had seen the power of this kind of killing weapon. They were afraid that they would accidentally throw the grenade later. If they hadn't been thrown out, I'm afraid they would have died. Seeing how nervous the soldiers were, Lu Chen said, "Don't worry, I can't blow you up." As soon as Lu Chen finished speaking, Li Feng pulled the safety catch of the grenade in his hand, and then he only held it in his hand for less than 2 seconds before he threw the grenade into the crowd in the Blood Moon Tower. Although Li Feng is a 7th level warrior, he is also very nervous when using a grenade. Originally, Lu Chen wanted them to air blast, but no one knew whether those warriors would kick the grenades back. If they did, they would be out of luck. Fortunately, when Li Feng's grenade was thrown into the crowd, Lu Yuan and others didn't take it seriously. They thought it was a stone thrown by Bei Wangfu, and they easily dodged the grenade thrown by Li Feng. Lu Yuan mocked again and said, "Ha ha ha, is the Northern Palace so poor that it has no arrows and can only throw stones?" However, as soon as Lu Yuan finished speaking, a loud noise exploded in the crowd. Boom! As a cloud of white smoke rose up, people around him died and were injured, and the scene was filled with wailing. After seeing this scene, everyone in the Blood Moon Tower was frightened and did not react for a long time. It wasn't until the second grenade exploded in the crowd that the warriors in the Blood Moon Tower began to run away like crazy. "Oh my god! It's thunder! Run quickly, there is someone in Buwang Mansion who will summon thunder. Immortal! There is an immortal in Buwang Mansion." Seeing the people in Suiyu Tower running around, Lu Yuan tightened the sword in his hand, and then roared with all his strength, "Everyone, stop here! Whoever wants to run away, I will kill." Before Lu Yuan finished speaking, a soldier from the palace threw a grenade towards Lu Yuan's location. Lu Yuan is not a fool. He already understands that this thing exploded just now. Although he doesn't know why this thing can be so lethal, he knows very well that this thing is very dangerous. Lu Yuan quickly kicked his legs forward and took 10 steps back. However, when the grenade exploded, a fragment still grazed his leg, causing his leg to bleed. Lu Yuan was relatively lucky. At this time, the 9th grade warrior who was closest to Lu Yuan directly collided with the grenade, and was blown up with more than a dozen bloody holes in an instant. Seeing this scene, Lu Yuan's body couldn't help but tremble. No doubt he was scared. He had never seen such a strange weapon. It looked like just a stone, but after it exploded, it was able to kill a 9th level warrior instantly. This completely subverted his cognition. He has never heard of such a weapon. How could such a weapon exist in this world? If that dynasty had such a killing weapon, it would probably have unified the world long ago. At the same time, the backyard of the palace. When Wang Qingkai waited for the people from Beihualu to arrive in the backyard of the palace, they also heard the rumbling explosion. Hearing those voices, Wang Qingkai was stunned for a moment. At this time, Chen Yu beside her said, "Holy girl, it looks like it's going to rain, which can just cover up our actions." Chen Yu thought the rumbling sound was thunder, but Wang Qingkai obviously didn't think so. Although the dark clouds were indeed thicker tonight, the sound obviously did not come from the sky, and there was a loud echo. Something must have happened over there in the front yard. It seems that King Bei has quite a lot of secrets. At this time, one of the killers from Yunyu Pavilion suddenly reminded, "Saint, there is someone." As soon as the words fell, everyone in Beihua Tower became vigilant. They came to the back door of the palace mainly to block King Bei's escape route. Since someone appeared at the back door, it meant that King Bei and the others were ready to escape. Just when everyone in Yunyu Pavilion thought they were about to see the servants of the North Prince's mansion who had escaped, they discovered that a beautiful woman wearing a green cloud dress and a bun in her head slowly walked to the door of the backyard. Yunyu Pavilion and others immediately recognized this woman. The person who came was none other than Chu Yukan, the 9th level master in the Northern Palace. Seeing Chu Yukan appear in the backyard, Chen Yu and other Yunyu Pavilion killers were stunned. Chu Yukan, a 9th level master, was not by King Bei's side to protect him, but she actually came to the backyard at this time? How is this going? For a time, a bad premonition surged into people's minds. Chu Yukan asked coldly, "It's so late, where is Miss Wang planning to go?" Wang Qingkai replied with a smile, "The slave family came to the North Palace to serve the prince, of course." Chu Yukan snorted coldly and said, "It takes so many people to serve Chener." Chen Yu took the initiative to stand up at this time. She immediately walked in front of Wang Qingkai and said, "Saint, please go to the front yard to check the situation. I feel something is wrong, I will stop it." Before Chen Yu could finish speaking, he felt a chill on his back, and then a sharp pain swept through his body. Chen Yu lowered his head slightly, unable to believe the sword blade on his chest. She turned around and found that the person who killed her was actually Wang Qingkai. "Saint, you!" Wang Qingkai then drew out his sword, and before Chen Yu could finish speaking, Chen Yu fell to the ground unconscious. Seeing this scene, the killers in Yunyu Pavilion were stunned. They never dreamed that their saint would actually attack one of their own at this time. At this time, Wang Qingkai said to Chu Yukan again, "Mrs. Chu, please help me to clean up these people and don't let them escape." Hearing Wang Qingkai's words, the killers of Yunyu Pavilion, no matter how stupid they were, realized that Wang Qingkai had betrayed the 8th prince. One of them shouted loudly, "Everyone, run away! The news of the saint's betrayal must be spread." After saying that, the killer from Yunyu Pavilion ran away in several directions. At this time, Chu Yukan just glanced coldly. Soon, there were more than a dozen corpses at the entrance to the backyard of the palace. Chapter 36 Man, times have changed. After Chu Yukan dealt with the killers in Yunyu Pavilion, she and Chu Yukan went to the martial arts training ground. Wang Qingkai was a little curious as to why Chu Yukan dared to leave Buwang at this time. Although she knew that Buwang might have some strength, there were so many 9th level warriors coming to the Blood Moon Tower, and there was also a half-step master. Is Chu Yukan really not worried about her Chener being killed? Or is it that in Chu Yukan's opinion, Lu Chen is fully capable of dealing with the killers in the Blood Moon Tower? Is the strength of Buwangfu already so strong? Just when Wang Qingkai's mind was filled with questions, they had already arrived at the palace's martial arts training ground. Seeing the people from the Blood Moon Tower surrounded by the martial arts training ground, Wang Qingkai froze on the spot. At this time, there were corpses all over the ground in the martial arts training ground, but these corpses belonged to the killers of the Blood Moon Tower. Currently, there are only 2 9th grade members left in the Blood Moon Tower and Lu Yuan, the deputy owner of the Blood Moon Tower, are still alive. But the situation of the three of them is very bad. The three of them were covered in blood, and the two living 9th level warriors were obviously seriously injured. If they were not treated in time, they would probably be close to death. It didn't take long. The soldiers of the North Palace actually killed all the assassins sent by the Blood Moon Tower. Wang Qingkai felt as if he was dreaming. She knew that Buwangfu might have some strength, but she did not expect that Buwangfu could eliminate the assassins of Blood Moon Tower in such a short period of time. Those are 5 9th grades. There is also a half-step master. Even if there really were master-level experts in the Buwang mansion, they wouldn't have been able to kill so many people in less than a quarter of an hour, right? How did Buwangfu do it? Wang Qingkai turned to look at Lu Chen, who was walking towards the martial arts training ground from a distance. If you want to know how Bei Wangfu did it, you may have to ask Bei Wang personally later. At this time, Lu Yuan stuck his sword on the ground and supported his wounded body. When he saw King Bei slowly walking out of the crowd, he gritted his teeth and said with a sneer, "King Bei, I didn't expect you to be the one who hid the deepest. It seems that everyone in the world has been deceived by you." At this time, Lu Yuan was no longer as energetic as before. In just a short time, almost all the people he brought were dead, with only 3 seriously injured people left. The kind of weapon that Bei Wangfu just took out, let alone a half-step master, may not be able to completely block it when a real master comes. He never dreamed that one day he would fall into the hands of a useless prince. Hearing Lu Yuan's words, Lu Chen said calmly, "Lord Lu, do you have any last words to say? When I destroy the Blood Moon Tower in the future, I may be able to convey your last words to your landlord." Lu Yuan laughed and said, "Huang Cao kid, since you want to kill me, I will also drag you to be buried with you." Having said this, Lu Yuan suddenly pulled out the sword stuck on the ground, and then went straight to Lu Chen. A ferocious and proud smile appeared on Lu Yuan's face. If it had been before, if Bei Wang had not come out, he would definitely not have been able to kill Bei King. But Bei Wang shouldn't, absolutely shouldn't come out and ridicule him at this time. Such a close distance, and he was a half-step master. Although he was seriously injured, there was still no problem in killing a loser. Seeing this scene, Wang Qingkai's expression changed drastically and she exclaimed, "Not good." Just when Wang Qingkai thought something was going to happen to Lu Chen, he found that no one around him moved. The soldiers of the palace and Chu Yukin just stood there and watched this scene quietly, as if they did not see Lu Yuan wanting to die with Lu Chen. Wang Qingkai was stunned. She didn't understand why the palace soldiers and Chu Yukin reacted so calmly. Lu Yuan is a half-step master. Even if he is seriously injured, it is not a problem to have a 9th grade master on his back before dying. But the people in the palace were actually indifferent to this scene. Soon, Wang Qingkai understood why the people in the palace had no reaction at all to this scene. At this time, Lu Chen took out a black stick-like weapon and pointed it at Lu Yuan, who was rushing towards him. After Lu Yuan saw the stick in Lu Chen's hand, he laughed loudly and said, "A useless prince actually dares to fight with me alone. Do you think I can't kill you because I am seriously injured?" The people around Lu Yuan did not move, and when they saw Lu Chen taking out a stick, they thought Lu Chen was stupid and wanted to end his life himself. While talking, Lu Yuan had already arrived in front of Lu Chen. "Go to hell for me." Seeing that the sword in Lu Yuan's hand was about to slash at Lu Chen, Wang Qingkai's heart rose to his throat. However, at this time, what she worried about did not happen. At this time, a loud voice sounded, and then Lu Chen's body took a step back. "Gang!" The moment the gun rang out, Lu Chen smiled and said, "Brother, times have changed." The next moment, Lu Yuan's body flew out instantly, and a huge blood hole appeared on his back. Seeing this scene, Wang Qingkai was completely stunned. What just happened? What happened to that loud noise? She only saw Lu Yuan swinging his sword towards King Bei, and then King Bei pointed a stick at Lu Yuan. Then Lu Yuan flew out, and a huge bloody hole appeared in his body. It was clear that the northern king did not move, but Lu Yuan was dead? Wang Qingkai was not a fool. She quickly realized that Lu Yuan was killed by the black stick-like thing in Lu Chen's hand. Wang Qingkai was confused. A half-step master. Just die? What kind of weapon does King Bei have in his hand, and why is it so terrifying? Is there really such a weapon in this world that can instantly kill a half-step master? Wang Qingkai's brain instantly connected all the recent events. She finally understood why the first assassination attempt at Sui Yulu failed. I finally understood why King Bei was not afraid of Sui Yulu's assassination at all. At the same time, she also understood why the soldiers in the northern prince's mansion, including Chu Yukin herself, were indifferent to the danger of the northern prince. Where is the danger in Buwang? It is Lu Yuan who is in danger. A half-step master just glanced at Bei Wang, and a huge blood hole instantly appeared in his body. With this kind of weapon in hand, King Bei is not afraid of any half-step master at all. Let alone a half-step master, I am afraid that even a master cannot withstand that mysterious weapon. Seeing the black stick in Lu Chen's hand again, beads of cold sweat could not help but appear on Wang Qingkai's white forehead. The black stick seemed to exude a strong blood energy, making Wang Qingkai's delicate body tremble unconsciously. In fact, not to mention Wang Qingkai, even Li Feng and others who had seen Lu Chen use Bartley to snipe an 8th-level warrior once before were equally shocked by this scene. The last time Suiyu Tower assassinated Bei Wang only killed an 8th-level warrior. But this time, the person who died in the hands of King Bei was a half-step master. Half-step master. This is a being that even the imperial court wants to win over. Moreover, even the previous grenade did not kill the half-step master of Blood Moon Tower. But in front of King Bei, in front of King Bei's mysterious weapon, it only took a moment to kill this half-step master. Seeing the huge bloody hole in Lu Yuan's back, almost everyone felt a chill on their backs. For a moment, the entire martial arts training ground was as quiet as a cemetery at night. It was not until the begging for mercy of the two remaining 9th-level warriors in the Blood Moon Tower rang out that people came back to their senses. Subscribe to Chinese Novel Audio Wave. Chapter 37 The Northern King in Wang Qingkai's Eyes. The two 9th-level warriors who were still alive in the Blood Moon Tower completely lost the idea of resisting when they saw Lu Yuan being instantly killed by King Bei with a mysterious weapon. A half-step master was killed like a chicken by King Bei. How could the two 9th-level warriors resist? That's a half-step master. A half-step master who is only one step away from the master. Not to mention the Grand Master, even the Great Grand Master had a hard time killing a half-step Grand Master, but he was killed instantly by King Bei, a prince who was rumored to be nothing more than a waste. My lord, please spare my life. I was threatened by Lu Yuan. I have no intention of going against my lord. Your Majesty, please forgive me. I know the hiding place of the Blood Moon Tower. If your Majesty wants to destroy the Blood Moon Tower, I can lead the way for you. The two 9th-level warriors from the Blood Moon Tower kowtowed as they spoke. The blood on their heads had already stuck their hair together. Seeing this scene, Wang Qingkai felt mixed emotions in his heart. She used to think that 9th-grade warriors were so powerful, especially after she became a 9th-grade warrior. She thought that one day she would be able to get rid of Yunyu Pavilion and the Wang family with her own strength. But now it seems that the 9th grade is nothing more than this. Not to mention the 9th rank, even the status of half-step master may drop significantly in the future. Thinking of this, Wang Qingkai glanced at the long black stick in Lu Chen's hand again. With that mysterious weapon, any half-step master is no different from an ordinary person. If Bei Wangfu can mass-produce the same weapons, I am afraid that the entire martial arts world will be subverted in the future. At this time, Wang Qingkai seemed to have seen the collapse of the martial arts world and the scene of King Bei unifying the entire continent. At this time, Li Feng said to Lu Chen, Your Majesty, do you want to keep the two of them? Maybe they can help us find the location of the Blood Moon Tower. Lu Chen thought for a moment, then asked, General Li, can you guarantee that these two 9th level warriors will not escape? Li Feng said, Your Majesty, we can use hooks to lock their peepa bones so that they cannot use their skills. Lu Chen smiled and said, General Li, what I'm asking is whether you can guarantee that these two 9th level warriors will not escape. This. Li Feng was silent. Of course there was no way he could guarantee this. Even if a hook is used to catch the two people's loot bones, the two people may still escape by various methods. After all, they are 9th level warriors. Seeing that Li Feng was silent, Lu Chen could basically confirm that Li Feng had no way to be sure. Although he has a 9th grade and a half-step master beside him now, one is Wang Qingkai and the other is Chu Yukan. There is no way he can let them look at the assassins of Blood Moon Tower. If Li Feng and the others were to look at these two assassins, Li Feng would be of 7th grade, and the rest of the soldiers would be of 3rd or 4th grade. If the assassins in Blood Moon Tower really break free, these soldiers may not be able to stop them. So to be on the safe side, it's best to get rid of these two people. Thinking of this, Lu Chen didn't say anything, and magically took out the Desert Eagle from his sleeve, and then aimed at the two 9th level warriors. Bang bang, 2 shots. The last 2 assassins sent by the Blood Moon Tower also fell to the ground. At this point, all the assassins sent by the Blood Moon Tower were wiped out, and the 8th prince's plan failed again. Seeing the two 9th grade masters lying on the ground, the soldiers couldn't help but swallow their saliva. If it were before, one 9th level warrior would be able to defeat 50 of them. Under normal circumstances, these two 9th grade kings are fully capable of killing all of their more than 100 soldiers. But now, two 9th grade masters were easily executed by their prince. The weapons on the prince are simply terrifying. They dare not think about what would happen if someone used this weapon on them in the future. At this time, Li Feng and others were extremely happy. Fortunately, they were smart and knew to stay in Beijing. If they had chosen to return to the capital, let alone whether they could get out of Yancheng. Even if they return to the capital, when the Northern King rises in the future, they may have to directly face the mysterious weapons in the hands of the Northern King. Thinking of the previous scene of the grenade explosion, the soldiers' bodies could not help but tremble. At this time, Wang Qingkai stared at the Desert Eagle in Lu Chen's hand. She just thought that the North King only had that long black weapon, but she didn't expect that the North King actually had a mysterious weapon that could easily kill a 9th level warrior. How could King Bei have such a terrifying weapon? Where did these weapons come from? Wang Qingkai was very sure that there were no such terrifying weapons in this world, otherwise the world of martial arts would have been in chaos. At this moment, Lu Chen turned to look at Wang Qingkai. Wang Qingkai's delicate body trembled slightly and her brain was stunned. Just being glanced at by Lu Chen made Wang Qingkai filled with fear. In her heart, the current Bei Wang was the god of death, synonymous with mystery. Lu Chen smiled and said, Qingkai, what do you people from Yunyu Pavilion plan to do? Lu Chen only subdued Wang Qingkai, so he did not intend to keep the people in Yunyu Pavilion. It was best to eliminate all the factors that could not be completely controlled. He has not yet grown up enough to be an enemy of the entire world, and he still needs to be cautious in doing things. After hearing Lu Chen's question, Wang Qingkai immediately replied, My lord, don't worry, the new family and Mrs. Chu have already solved them all. Lu Chen was a little surprised when he heard Wang Qingkai's answer. To be honest, she didn't expect Wang Qingkai to be able to do it. After all, she was the saint of Yunyu Pavilion and had grown up in Yunyu Pavilion. Chu Yukan asked at this time, Chener, what do you plan to do next? Now they have foiled another assassination attempt by Sui Yulu, but Chu Yukan does not think that Sui Yulu will give up. This time, their deputy building owners died in Buwang Mansion, and the Blood Moon Tower is known for its vengeance, so they will definitely come to take revenge. From now on, the situation of the palace will still not be very good. Lu Chen thought for a while and then said, "Let's put today's matter out and say that the mysterious master of the palace has not left. With the help of the master of the palace, we foiled another assassination attempt by Sui Yulu. Lu Chen doesn't plan to let more people know about his Desert Eagle and Bartley, so he can only use the mysterious master to deter those who are hostile to the palace." Chu Yukan thought for a moment and thought that there was nothing wrong with Lu Chen's handling method. "Chener, go check on Zixuan and the others. Let us handle the matter here." Mu Zixuan and the others were still in the tunnel. They had probably heard the movements above the palace and were probably very worried at this time, so Chu Yukan wanted Lu Chen to go and see them first. Mu Zixuan and the other three are all pregnant, so they cannot be too worried. Lu Chen said okay and turned around to leave. At the same time, inside the palace tunnel, Mu Zixuan and the Zhou sisters were looking worriedly at the top of the tunnel. Zhou Xiaoxiao said to Mu Zixuan at this time, "Sister Mu, will the prince be fine?" Zhou Xiaoxiao and Zhou Yuyu have experienced family confiscation and genocide, so they are very sensitive to this kind of thing. She does not want to go back to her previous life. It can be said that Bei Wang is their two sisters' heaven. If something happens to Bei King, their heaven will collapse. Mu Zixuan said comfortingly, "Don't worry, the prince will be fine." Although Mu Zixuan did not witness the scene where Lu Chen used a mysterious weapon to kill a 9th grade warrior last time, she heard it from the guards around her afterwards. So she believed that the man she married must not be simple, and the assassination in Sui Yulu would definitely be easy to deal with. They just need to wait here. At this moment, a tall and imposing man entered the tunnel. Seeing that it was Lu Chen, Zhou Xiaoxiao and Zhou Yuyu rushed forward without hesitation and hugged Lu Chen. "That's great, Your Majesty, you're okay." Oh, I'm scared to death." Lu Chen patted the backs of Zhou Yuyu and Zhou Xiaoxiao, smiled and said, "Okay, it's okay, it's okay." Chapter 38 Rumors in the Capital. Early in the morning, Beijun's army blocked Yanchange. On the streets, almost every street was full of soldiers coming and going. Seeing this scene, the people were so frightened that they ran towards their homes. At the same time, a group of soldiers surrounded the door of the sheriff's mansion. Before Li Rui got up, he heard his wife entering the room in a panic and shouting, "Master, it's not good. Something happened." After hearing his wife's voice, Li Rui got up from the bed and asked in a daze, "Madam, what happened?" Mrs. Li quickly said, "A group of soldiers came to the door and said they wanted to search the county governor's mansion." Hearing this, Li Rui's eyes suddenly opened wide and he woke up instantly. He immediately stood up from the bed. "What's going on? Why are there soldiers searching the county governor's house?" Mrs. Li said, "I don't know what happened." "Master, go and have a look. They are about to break in." Li Rui hurriedly walked towards the gate of the sheriff's mansion without even having time to put on his clothes. At this time, Li Rui felt extremely uneasy. He wondered whether King Bei was going to take action against him, the county guard. But then he thought about it. He had handed over his military power and was still working diligently for King Bei. King Bei wouldn't do anything to him, right? He is now considered a member of the Northern King. How can any feudal king take action against one of his own people? If he is gone as the county guard, it will be even more difficult for the powerful groups that the King of Bei wants to control in Bei County. Soon, Li Rui appeared at the door of the county governor's house. Seeing that the team leader who brought the soldiers was someone he knew well, Li Rui breathed a sigh of relief and asked, "Colonel Wu, what are you doing?" Wu Hong said with a smile, "Master Li, please forgive me. The prince was assassinated by the Blood Moon Tower assassin last night. It is said that several assassins escaped. The prince ordered us to search the whole city. No one's mansion will be spared." Hearing this, Li Rui's expression changed and he quickly asked, "Is the prince okay?" Wu Hong said, "Don't worry, Master Li. Thanks to the mysterious master in the palace, the prince was just frightened and is fine. Hearing this, Li Rui breathed a sigh of relief. If King Bei was killed, he, the county guard, might also be implicated. Then Li Rui said, "Okay, you can search." Wu Hong cupped his hands and said, "Then I'll excuse you." Wu Hong then led the soldiers into the governor's mansion, conducted a brief search, and then led the soldiers to the next mansion. Soon, the news of King Bei's assassination spread throughout Yancheng. Almost everyone in Yancheng knew about the fact that Sui Yule sent people to assassinate King Bei, but was foiled by the mysterious master of King Bei's mansion. Although King Bei is a useless prince, he is a prince after all, and the assassination of a prince is considered a big event. This matter soon spread to the capital. The 8th prince's residence. After seeing Wang Qingkai's flying pigeon letter, Lu Shiyun became furious. He raised his arm and swept everything on the chopping board to the ground, and then overturned the table in front of him. Then there was a clanging sound in the study, and Lu Shiyun smashed everything that could be smashed in the study. Waste! Waste! A bunch of waste! 6 9th level masters, 1 half-step master, can't even kill a trash. What's the use of you? After hearing Lu Shiyun's voice, the maids in the room stood aside and shivered, not daring to express their anger. Lu Shiyun really couldn't believe that this operation would fail. Even if the mysterious master is still in the North Palace, with the half-step master of the Blood Moon Tower, he can't be held back for a while, so that other 9th grade warriors can create opportunities for Lu Chen to murder him. As a result, the Blood Moon Tower actually failed. Not only did the people from the Blood Moon Tower fail, but almost all the people sent by the Anya Pavilion were also killed. Only Wang Qingkai escaped alone. It was said that he was seriously injured and could only hide in Yancheng to survive. Lu Shiyun felt like his lungs were about to explode. Originally, he had always thought that it would be easy to get rid of Lu Chen, a loser, but he failed twice in a row. With these 2 failures, it may not be so easy for them to attack Bawang Mansion again in the future. Other forces are not fools. Even those like Suiyu Tower, which specializes in assassinations, have failed. There is a high probability that other killer organizations will not accept his mission. Just when Lu Shiyun was smashing things to vent his dissatisfaction, a servant hurriedly broke in. "Your Highness, it's not good. Something bad is going to happen." Lu Shiyun was furious now. Hearing the servant's roar, he became even more angry. He went over and kicked the servant against the wall. Fortunately, he was not very strong and did not kick the servant to death. After the servant spit out a mouthful of blood, he stood up quickly and said, "Your Highness, there are rumors in the entire capital that you sent the assassins from Suiyu Tower to kill him. King Bei, the purpose is so that the Jiangnan family can only support you in the fight for the right to inherit the throne." Hearing this, Lu Shiyun's brain froze and he froze in place. He quickly reacted and his face instantly darkened. "My good brothers really never let go of any opportunity. Political things can be done but not said, what can be said cannot be done." Although fighting between brothers is relatively common in the royal family, it is taboo for any dynasty. Of course, people knew that the 8th prince wanted to get rid of the 9th prince the most. Their maternal clans all came from the Jiangnan family, and the Jiangnan family could only support one prince to participate in the heir apparent. But this kind of thing can only be known, and it must not be spread around. Once it is spread, it will be a scandal of royal brothers killing each other. Since this kind of thing is a royal taboo, why are there still rumors in the capital that he sent someone to assassinate the 9th prince? Obviously, there were other princes pushing him behind the scenes, with the purpose of disqualifying him from competing for the crown prince's position. Lu Shiyun was originally thinking about how to get rid of Lu Chen just now, but now after hearing the rumors in the capital, he could no longer touch Lu Chen. This is what can be said and done in politics. Since there are already rumors, if he sends someone to assassinate Lu Chen and Lu Chen dies, it will basically be confirmed that he did it. Even if he didn't kill Lu Chen, the ministers in the court who supported the other princes would say it was him, and the people would also think he killed the 9th prince. By that time, he would have completely lost his qualifications to compete for the crown prince position. Lu Chen clenched his fists, feeling very unwilling. Could it be possible to let that waste go like this? The first assassination and the second assassination were mainly for his own political purposes, but at this time Lu Chen was so angry that he no longer thought about the problem politically. He just wanted to get rid of Lu Chen now. Of course, this was just a temporary personal emotion, and Lu Chen soon calmed down. In any case, Lu Chen will not be able to be touched for the next period of time. At this time, Lu Chen turned to look at the bookshelf in the study, and then said to that side, "Send a message to Wang Qingkai immediately, asking her to continue lurking in Beijun after recovering from her injuries, and not to take any action for the time being." After Lu Chen finished speaking, a dark figure came out of the window and left the study. Chapter 39 The Chu Family's Crisis. Beijing. Royal Palace, Royal Garden. Emperor Xia, wearing a yellow dragon robe, was sitting in the pavilion, sipping the fragrant tea in his hand. At this moment, a soldier wearing armor suddenly appeared behind him. "Your Majesty, my subordinates have found out that the news that the 8th prince sent people to assassinate the 9th prince was spread by His Highness." Hearing this, the teacup in Emperor Xia's hand broke instantly. Emperor Xia snorted and said, "These children of mine are really becoming more and more restless. Is it possible that they all hope that I will die soon? They are you so anxious to be crown prince?" After seeing Emperor Xia's anger, Situ Ce, the national advisor sitting opposite Emperor Xia, immediately said, "Your Majesty, please calm down. The position of the crown prince is still undecided. It is not surprising that brothers will attack each other. If your Majesty can establish the crown prince as soon as possible, it will be possible. Calm down some of His Highness' minds." Hearing this, Emperor Xia laughed, and then said, "Master, you are the only one who dares to say this to me. If someone asks me to establish a prince early, I will definitely have him dragged down to fight 100 battles." Having said this, Emperor Xia stood up from the stone bench and looked at the lotus pond in the imperial garden with his hands behind his back. "To be honest, I am more curious about how Zaiju survived than what happened in the capital." Emperor Xia's thoughts were similar to Lu Chen's. Even if the Chu family really sent a mysterious master to protect Lu Chen, there was a high probability that the assassination in Suiyulu would be successful. According to the information obtained by the Shadow Guard, Suiyu Tower sent a half-step master and 5 9th-level masters to Beijun this time. In addition, Lu Chen himself had planted some chess pieces in Beijun. If they acted together, even if there was a Grand Master around, it would be unlikely that the Buwang would survive. But King Bei just survived. This made Emperor Xia suspicious. Is the mysterious master around King Bei really just a master? Situ Ce said at this time, His 9th Highness was able to survive, perhaps because His Highness was not destined to die, it was luck. Emperor Xia said calmly, "That's all, the farce should end. Since the Chu family has not sent anyone to Beijun to contact Zaiju recently, we will just let Zaiju mess around in Beijun. I will not interfere with his affairs in the future." Emperor Xia had people investigate the Chu family recently, and found that the Chu family had done nothing except sending Chu Yukan and the mysterious master to protect Lu Chen when he went to Beijun to join the feudal clan. No one was sent to contact Lu Chen. It seemed like he had given up on Lu Chen. Emperor Xia even heard that the Chu family was very dissatisfied with Chu Xiong, the head of the family, and was already clamoring to change the head of the family. Chu Xiong himself was already in trouble, so it was normal that he didn't have the heart to care about Lu Chen who was far away in Beijun. Emperor Xia immediately said to the red-robed eunuch beside him, "Pass my command, the eldest prince is spreading rumors everywhere, which is detrimental to the royal majesty. He will be banned for 3 months. As for the 8th prince..." Having said this, Emperor Xia paused for a moment, and then continued, Eunuch Lu, go and talk to the 8th prince later and tell him to stop. Upon hearing this, the red-robed eunuch in front of Emperor Xia immediately said, Yes, Your Majesty. Then Eunuch Lu left the palace and went to the residences of the eldest prince and the 8th prince to deliver the decree. At the same time, Jiangnan, Suifengcheng, Chu family. An old man with grey hair was sitting in the yard, reading the letter over and over again. At this time, a middle-aged man wearing blue brocade clothes came in from the entrance of the courtyard. Dad, didn't you say you would ignore the affairs of Prince Bei for the time being? Why don't you let Qiner come back? And you actually secretly sent a Grand Master to protect Prince Bei. The man's name is Chu Hengfei, Chu Xiong's son, and Lu Chen's uncle. After Chu Hengfei learned that there was a mysterious master in the Buwang mansion, he was in a bad mood. Although Lu Chen was his nephew, he and Lu Chen didn't have much interaction, let alone any good feelings. What's more, the woman he likes has been following Bei Wang, which makes Chu Hengfei even more unhappy. As for who the woman he likes is, of course it is Chu Yukan. Faced with his son's question, Chu Xiong was silent for a moment, and then asked, Hengfei, do you really think that I sent the Grand Master of Buwang Mansion? Hearing Chu Xiong's words, Chu Hengfei was stunned for a moment, and then he said, besides you, who would send a Grand Master to protect a useless prince? In Chu Hengfei's opinion, Chu Xiong probably thought that Lu Chen was his grandson, so he was afraid that he would be injured. So a Grand Master was sent there. Chu Xiong sighed at this time and said, I did think about sending a Grand Master to protect King Bei, but when I thought about the various actions in the capital recently, I finally gave up this idea. I don't know where that mysterious master comes from. As for Yukan, she voluntarily followed Bei Wang to Beijun. Now she no longer listens to the Chu family's words. At this time, Chu Hengfei showed a suspicious look on his face, and then he asked, Dad, are you lying to me? If it weren't for your order, how could Qiner follow an unlearned waste? I don't believe it. Chu Xiong hated the iron and said, now that Emperor Xia is making constant moves, the commanders of the imperial guards in the capital have been changed again and again. Even Zhou Wangtian has had his family confiscated and his family exterminated, and Mu Chongtian has also been imprisoned in the capital. Emperor Xia is obviously going to deal with it next. The aristocratic family has used the knife, and I still dare to have too much contact with King Bei at this time. Do you really think that I am an old fool? Are you afraid that Emperor Xia's knife will not come down fast enough? As for Yukan, I advise you to give up as soon as possible. Although her husband died on the first day she married into the Wang family, she is still considered the Wang family's daughter-in-law. Hearing Chu Xiong's words, Chu Hengfei said thoughtfully, Dad, if it is really not the Grand Master you sent to Beijun, then there should be no Grand Master who would protect King Bei. Chu Xiong touched his grey beard, and then said, I was very confused when I saw the news at first, but I just received news from the capital. I'm afraid this matter has something to do with the eldest prince. Having said this, Chu Xiong handed the letter in his hand to Chu Hengfei. Chu Hengfei picked up the letter and glanced at it, the expression on his face changed again and again. Then he said, Dad, do you think that the eldest prince sent a Grand Master to protect King Bei, and he wants to win over our Chu family in this way? Chu Xiong said calmly, it's not about winning over the Chu family, it's about winning over me. The letter in Chu Hengfei's hand was sent by the Chu family's spies in the capital. The spies found out that the eldest prince had spread news related to the northern king several times, including the news spread in the capital that the 8th prince sent someone to assassinate the northern king. It was also spread by the eldest prince. It looked like the eldest prince was protecting King Bei. But Chu Xiong is not a fool, this was obviously done to him by the eldest prince. As for whether the Grand Master around King Bei is a subordinate of the eldest prince, it's hard to say. As the eldest prince, the person most likely to become the prince, there must be a master under him, there is no doubt about this. But the Grand Master is not a cabbage. The eldest prince himself needs the protection of the Grand Master. If he sends a Grand Master to protect King Bei, then who in the capital will protect him, unless there is more than one Grand Master around him? At this time, Chu Hengfei put the letter on the stone table, and then said, I don't care, no matter what, Qiner must come back. What are you doing in Beijun with a useless prince? The environment in Beijun is so bad, she only has suffering. Hearing this, Chu Xiong burst out of anger and angrily said, you think about women every day, and that's all you can do. Now the Chu family is about to be in disaster, and you still think about women. Chu Hengfei said nonchalantly, what does the Chu family's impending disaster have to do with me? When that happens, I will take Qiner to the Dahu dynasty. Hearing Chu Hengfei's words, Chu Xiong almost breathed out. Get out! Get out of here! Chu Xiong yelled loudly. Seeing that Chu Xiong was angry, Chu Hengfei quickly left the yard. After Chu Hengfei left, Chu Xiong looked at the empty yard, sighed deeply and said, Daddy can't help you. He didn't protect you well at first, and now he doesn't even dare to send someone to protect your child. Chapter 40 Auspicious. This is auspicious. As time passed, the belly of Mu Zixuan's 3 daughters became bigger and bigger, and soon the day of delivery came. Ever since the news came out from Beijun that King Bei was assassinated by Sui Yulu and then rescued by the mysterious master, Beijun suddenly became much more stable. This made some forces realize that the mysterious master beside King Bei might always follow and protect King Bei. Although King Bei is a waste, the mysterious master beside King Bei is not a vegetarian. Because of Emperor Xia's warning, the 8th prince did not continue to send people to assassinate Lu Chen. He just asked Wang Qingkai to continue to monitor Lu Chen in Beijun and tell him immediately if he found out that the North King had contact with the Chu family. In the past few months, Lu Chen has not been busy dealing with Beijun's affairs. Beijun is still under the supervision of the county guard Li Rui. However, Lu Chen asked people to measure the land of the palace, and then asked the people to open up wasteland and plant all 10,000 kilograms of breeding potatoes. There are a lot of wastelands in Beijun, and not many people pay attention to the land surveying and wasteland reclamation by Buwang Mansion. These days, Lu Chen has been accompanying Mu Zixuan and the 3 of them at the palace. The 3 of them are about to give birth, so Lu Chen takes extra care of them, for fear that something will happen to them. At this time, Lu Chen gently stroked Mu Zixuan's bulging belly, and then said with a smile, my dear concubine, please leave the palace's property to Aunt Chu for the time being, and then you can wait for the birth with peace of mind. Now, don't worry about those things for now. In the past few months, Mu Zixuan has expanded the soap industry and perfume industry hundreds of times. Now the entire Xia Dynasty, whether high-ranking officials or ordinary people, are using the perfume and soap produced by their palace. Although these 2 things are more profitable, because they are Buwang's properties, and Mu Chongtian is watching over Buwang Mansion in the capital, no one dares to pursue these 2 industries yet. What Lu Chen didn't expect the most was that Mu Zixuan seemed to be a very business-minded person. She also combined perfume and soap to create a product like soap. Of course, this is not a simple combination, the soap has been modified and can be used for bathing. The palace has these industries and can earn hundreds of thousands of taels of silver every month. Mu Zixuan is also actively exploring business routes. She plans to sell these things to other countries. Unfortunately, as her belly grew bigger day by day, her energy became worse, and she felt sleepy every day. Now she was completely unable to take care of the palace's property. After hearing what Lu Chen said, Mu Zixuan said, well, I have asked someone to transfer all the palace's accounts to Aunt Chu. Aunt Chu has been familiar with the palace's properties these days. Although Chu Yukan can't be considered a member of the North Palace now, everyone in the palace trusts her and knows that sooner or later she will be Lu Chen's woman. Leaving the palace's property to her, people were not worried at all about what would happen. At this moment, the maid Xiao entered the room and whispered, "Your Majesty, General Li is looking for you," saying that he has something important to do. Hearing this, Lu Chen stroked Mu Zixuan's cheek, and then said, "My dear concubine, I have to go out beforehand, please lie down well." Mu Zixuan smiled and said, "Well, Prince, go and do your work." Lu Chen immediately stood up and walked towards the martial arts training ground. After seeing Li Feng, before Li Feng could salute, Lu Chen asked, "General Li, what do you want from me?" Li Feng quickly replied, "Your Majesty, good news, the soil you asked us to plant, soil." Having said this, Li Feng thought for a moment, and then immediately said, "Oh, yes, potatoes. Those potatoes are ready for harvest." Hearing this, Lu Chen's eyes lit up. Potatoes are the most suitable crop to solve the food shortage in North County. This is also an agricultural product that Lu Chen values very much. Lu Chen immediately said, "Let's go take a look." As soon as he finished speaking, Lu Chen walked towards the gate of the palace. Lu Chen now wants to know how much they can harvest from these potatoes grown in North County. He was not an agricultural expert and could only plant according to the common people's planting methods in this world, so he felt very unsure. Soon, Lu Chen came to a field where potatoes were grown in Buwang Mansion. At this time, there were already many soldiers and nearby people waiting here. The people nearby are interested in the new crops grown by Buwang. Although Buwang Mansion has never told the people what they are growing, it can be seen from the fact that Buwang Mansion sends soldiers to patrol every day. These crops grown by Buwang Mansion, it must be very important to Buwang Fu. Seeing so many people nearby, Li Feng asked, "Your Majesty, do we want to drive all these people away?" After all, potatoes are considered a secret of Buwang Mansion. If too many people know about it, many people may covet the potatoes of Buwang Mansion. Lu Chen shook his head, and then said, "If we drive them away, how can we promote potato cultivation in North County in the future?" He originally planned to let the people of Bay County plant potatoes. If he could not let the people see the yield of potatoes per acre, they would definitely not plant potatoes. If the Buwang Mansion forces the people to plant crops they have never seen before, this may arouse public outrage. At this time, the people around saw that King Bei had come in person, so they started talking one after another. "Look! Is that the prince? It's him, I saw him when he came to Yancheng. What are you growing in this land? Even King Bei came here in person. It is said to be edible food. Really or not, this is the first time I've heard of food buried under the earth. Just wait and see, they are probably planning to dig. We will know when they dig later." Lu Chen ignored the comments of the people. He glanced at the crowd, and then said to the soldier holding the hoe, "First dig an acre of land and see how much the yield is." Lu Chen gave an order, and the soldiers began to dig up the soil. Soon, some irregular oval potatoes appeared in front of people's eyes. The people around were shocked when they saw so many potatoes under one plant. "Are these really edible? Oh my God, there are so many under one plant. If everyone can eat it, won't there be no more famines in Bay County in the future? But will King Bei distribute the seeds of this plant to us people?" Time passed by minute by second, and before long, all the potatoes in an acre of land were dug. Seeing the potatoes piled up like a hill, both the soldiers in Beijun and the people around them stared straight at them. After final weighing, 1 acre of potato yield was nearly 2,000 kilograms. When Li Feng saw this number, he couldn't believe it. There were 2,000 kilograms of potatoes in 1 acre of land. In this era, there are not even 200 kilograms of wheat per acre. Although he couldn't believe it, Li Feng couldn't help but not believe that all of this happened before his eyes. Li Feng then came to Lu Chen and was about to report the weighing situation. Lu Chen said directly to Li Feng, "General Li, tell the common people loudly, what is the yield of potatoes per acre?" Li Feng instantly understood what Lu Chen meant, so he said loudly, "Report to the prince, after our weighing, the yield of potatoes per acre is 2,000 kilograms." Hearing this, the people around him instantly became excited. "Oh my god! 2,000 kilograms! If there is so much food, we will never be afraid of starving in the future. Auspicious, this is auspicious." Chapter 41 The Birth of the First Child. Seeing the excited people, Lu Chen smiled. He believed that after seeing the potato yield, these people already had the idea of planting potatoes in their minds. Audience. After all, compared with potatoes, the yield of wheat is too low. At this time, Lu Chen opened his mouth and said to the people around him, "Quiet down." After seeing King Bei's words, the people fell silent instantly. Their eyes looked directly at Lu Chen, as if hungry wolves had seen meat. They now want to know whether King Bei will distribute the seeds of this plant to the people. After seeing the crowd quiet down for an instant, Lu Chen said, "The food you see is called potatoes, which can be used as a staple food. As for the yield, you have also seen it. I have decided to distribute some potatoes to the common people for trial planting, and the common people who try to grow potatoes will not need to pay agricultural taxes for 2 years." Hearing Lu Chen's words, the people became excited again. They didn't expect that King Bei actually planned to give them this magical food for trial planting, and he would also be exempted from 2 years of agricultural tax. At this time, some people couldn't help but kneel down and kowtow to Lu Chen. Seeing the excitement of the people, Lu Chen knew that the promotion of potatoes should not be a big problem. In a few years, if there are no natural or man-made disasters in Beijun, then there is a high probability that Beijun will not have such a serious food crisis now. At this moment, when Lu Chen was about to say something, the system prompt suddenly rang. "Congratulations to the host for obtaining his first heir. He will receive a reward of 5,000 royal guards, 2 Grand Master level commanders, and a reward of weapon forging technology. The more descendants the host has, the more valuable the rewards will be, including but not limited to various modern technologies, factories, and even industrial production lines." Lu Chen was stunned when he heard the sudden system sound. He didn't expect that not long after he left the palace, he would have a child. But you don't need to think about it to know that it should be Mu Zixuan who gave birth. At this time, when he was about to return to the palace quickly, a guard from the palace rode on a horse and shouted excitedly, "Your Majesty, Your Majesty, the princess is about to give birth, Mrs. Chu wants you to go back quickly." After hearing this, Lu Chen said to Li Feng without hesitation, "General Li, I will leave the rest to you. I want to go back and see the princess." Li Feng naturally knew the importance of the princess having an heir. Having an heir would mean that the North Palace would have a bloodline inheritance in the future. He immediately said, "My lord, please go back with confidence. I will ask the soldiers to dig out the potatoes as soon as possible." Lu Chen didn't say anything more, he immediately got on the carriage. At the same time, a tavern in Yancheng, Beijun County. The tavern owner was standing at the front desk, tapping his abacus. Suddenly, his brain froze, and a stream of information poured into his mind. The tavern owner suddenly looked extremely shocked. He turned his head and looked in the direction of Buwang Mansion with a look of disbelief. The tavern owner said to himself, "It's him? No wonder. Looks like I'll be very busy in the future." Having said this, the tavern owner put down his calculations and began to change clothes. Almost at the same time, Beijing. The 8th prince's favorite restaurant is also owned by the restaurant's owner. He was about to receive today's distinguished guests in person, when suddenly he froze on the spot, with a look of disbelief on his face. Then he murmured to himself, "Your Highness, I'm afraid my mission is coming soon. It seems I have to prepare in advance." On the way back to the palace, Lu Chen opened the system and took a look at the reward he had just received. "System, where are these 5,000 Jin Yiwei now? What is their strength? Lu Chen also didn't expect that the reward he would receive after having an heir would be a group of people. He thought the system would reward him with a batch of modern arms. At this time, the system prompt sounds. These 5,000 Jinyue are now distributed in various counties and counties of the Great Xia Dynasty. Their strength is at least 5th level, while the heads of the 4 major institutions and the 5,000 Jinyue are all at the 9th level. In addition, the host obtained through the system all subordinates are 100% loyal and have implanted identities in this world. After hearing the system prompt, Lu Chen asked curiously, how did those people know that they were members of the Jinyue? This is the power of this system. The host can understand that this system has implanted a part of special memory into them, allowing the entire Jinyue organization to keep running until their real master appears. Hearing the system's beep, Lu Chen couldn't help but sigh at the power of the system. All members of Jinyue have received your personal information. Currently, there are 300 Jinyue in North County, 1 for each 1,000 households, 1 commander, director of the Criminal and Prison Department, director of the Investigation Department, layman factory commander, and expert factory commander. They are all in Yanchenj, North County. They will rush to the palace as soon as possible to report the information to you. Does the host need to recall the Jinyue from outside North County? After seeing the system prompt, Lu Chen asked, can I talk to them through the air? No, but the host has the authority to recall once. Lu Chen understood what the system meant. If he wanted to recall all the Jinyi guards, then they would be able to receive the message from the system. This was the system's ability. But why did he recall all the royal guards? Isn't the role of the Jinyue just to monitor the officials and collect intelligence? If they are recalled, they will still be the Jinyue. Thinking of this, Lu Chen said, no need, let them stay where they are. The Jinyue outside North County has received the host's order to stay on standby. After Lu Chen returned to the palace, he quickly went to Mu Zixuan's delivery room. At this time, Mu Zixuan's face was pale, her whole body was covered in sweat, and she looked particularly weak. After seeing Lu Chen come back, Mu Zixuan tried hard to get up from the bed. Lu Chen quickly went over to support her and said, my beloved, you'd better lie down and rest. At this time, the midwife came to Lu Chen holding the child. Congratulations, Your Majesty, the princess has given you a son. Upon hearing this, Lu Chen immediately glanced at the child in the midwife's hands, and nervously took him into his hands. The newborn baby was very small and very ugly, but Lu Chen had no objection to it. After all, it was his own child. At this time, Chu Yukin on the side reminded, Chener, you haven't named your child yet. Give him a name now. Lu Chen thought for a while and then said, let's call him Lu Chongfeng. Chongfeng can be understood as continuous wind, symbolizing strength, vitality, and hope. Lu Chen hopes that his first child will grow up positively and achieve a great career in the future. After staying with Mu Zixuan in the delivery room for a while, Lu Chen left the delivery room and prepared to meet the upcoming commander of the Jinyi Guards. As soon as she walked out of the delivery room, Chu Yukin asked, Chener, what did you do just now? Mu Zixuan was about to give birth, but Lu Chen was not in the palace, which meant that he must have something very important. Lu Chen replied, the potatoes are ripe. I just went to see General Li and his friends digging potatoes. Hearing this, Chu Yukin's eyes lit up, and then she asked, are they the kind of potatoes you gave us last time? Chu Yukin and other women in the inner courtyard of the palace have all seen potatoes and tasted them. After Chu Yukin heard Lu Chen introduce potatoes, she realized the importance of potatoes to Beijun. Lu Chen nodded at this time. Chu Yukin continued to ask, how is the yield of those potatoes? Lu Chen replied, the yield per mu is 2,000 kilograms. Hearing this answer, Chu Yukin froze on the spot. Although Lu Chen had told her that the potato yield would be very large, she did not expect it to be so large. If potatoes can be popularized, the people of Beijun may no longer have to go hungry in the future, and the prestige of Bawang will rise rapidly. Seeing that Chu Yukin seemed surprised by the potato yield, Lu Chen said mysteriously, "Aunt Chu, are you surprised now? There will be even more surprising things waiting for you later." As soon as Lu Chen finished speaking, a personal guard from the palace hurried over and said, "Your Majesty, Mrs. Chu, something bad has happened." A group of warriors wearing strange clothes came outside the palace. Recommend a book by a friend, about having many children and many blessings. Click at bookshelf to read it in the bookshelf. Apocalyptic crisis in ancient times, fortunately I have many children and blessings. Chapter 42 Crisis in Mu Kuagong's mansion. Chu Yukin frowned when she heard the guard's report. A warrior wearing fancy clothes? Who dares to come to Bawang mansion to cause trouble? Ever since the last assassination attempt on Lu Chen in the Blood Moon Tower failed, no one in the entire North County dared to provoke the North Prince's mansion. People know that there is a master in Bawang mansion, so they won't be so stupid. Someone actually came to your door today? Chu Yukin then said to Lu Chen, "Chener, let me go take a look first." Lu Chen said, "Aunt Chu, I'll go with you." Chu Yukin was about to say something, but when she thought of the mysterious weapon on Lu Chen's body and that Lu Chen was now a warrior, she had no words to dissuade him. Then they arrived at the gate of the palace. As soon as they came to the door, they saw what the guards said were warriors in strange costumes standing in rows and standing very respectfully at the door of the palace, with no intention of causing trouble. Lu Chen took a look at these Jin Yiwei wearing Fiyu uniforms and capes, but did not step forward immediately. When Chu Yukin saw this scene, she was stunned. She just thought these people were here to make trouble, but looking at them, it didn't look like they were here to make trouble at all. Moreover, they were dressed uniformly, as if they were warriors from a certain institution of the imperial court. However, she has never heard of any institution wearing this kind of clothes in the Great Xia Dynasty. After feeling the state of these people, Chu Yukin frowned and instantly became alert. The man standing at the front, judging from his aura, was definitely no longer inferior to her in strength. And the 5 people behind him are also 9th grade. As for the remaining 2 carts of warriors, almost all of them are 5th grade warriors or above. The last time Suiyu Tower sent someone to assassinate Lu Chen, they didn't bring so many 5th level warriors. What are the origins of these people? What do they want to do when they come to the palace? The thing that worried Chu Yukin the most was the man at the front. That man made Chu Yukin feel a huge threat. She even doubted whether he was a grandmaster. Chu Yukin was about to ask who they were when the leading man stepped forward, knelt down on one knee and said to Lu Chen, "Commander of the Jinyi Guards, please ask Qin Yushin to see the prince. My subordinate failed to report his duties to the prince as soon as possible. Please punish me." After Qin Yushin squatted down, the guards behind him also squatted down together. Seeing this scene, Chu Yukin's face was filled with shock. She couldn't figure out when Tong Chen had so many powerful subordinates. You must know that Li Feng, who came to Beijun with Lu Chen, is now only at the 8th level. And Lu Chen actually had 5 9th grades, hundreds of 5th grades, and even a master whose strength was suspected to be more than a half-step master. Lu Chen then glanced at Qin Yushin and checked his personal information. Name, Qin Yushin. Identity, Commander of the Jinyi Guards, shopkeeper of Beijun Yuela Tavern. After learning that you were his master, he immediately summoned the Jinyi Guards from Yanqing to report his duties to you. Strength, Grandmaster. Loyalty, 100. After reading Qin Yushin's personal information, Lu Chen glanced at the other Jinyi Guards and found that their loyalty was indeed 100 as the system said. The system was indeed powerful enough, and it was actually able to cultivate so many loyal subordinates for him in advance. Lu Chen then said, "Commander Qin, get up, don't stand at the door of the palace, come in first." Having said this, Lu Chen turned around and walked towards the palace. Occasionally, people would pass by the gate of the palace. Seeing so many warriors at the gate of the palace, they might spread rumors everywhere. If there is anything else, let's wait until we enter the palace. Then Qin Yushan entered the palace with hundreds of subordinates. When they arrived at the martial arts training ground, Chu Yukan asked curiously beside Lu Chen, "Chener, when did you train so many masters? Why doesn't Auntie know about it at all?" If she were just a master, she wouldn't know it was normal, but seeing these Jin Yiwei wearing the same kind of clothes, Chu Yukan instantly understood that this was an organization. Lu Chen had already established an organization belonging to the palace, but she hadn't heard anything about it yet, which puzzled Chu Yukan. Lu Chen smiled and said, "Aunt Chu, there are still many things you don't know about me." Hearing this, Chu Yukan rolled her eyes at Lu Chen. But when she thought that Lu Chen was a person destined to be immortal, Chu Yukan felt relieved. Lu Chen stopped at this time, turned around and said to Qin Yushan, "Commander Qin, please introduce the current situation of the Jinyi guards." "Yes, Your Majesty. There are currently 5,000 Jin Yiwei, distributed in various counties of the Great Xia Dynasty. Their strength is above the 5th level. There are 11 warriors above the 9th level, 2 of whom are Grand Masters, that is, subordinates in Liang Zone." Upon hearing Qin Yushan's introduction, Chu Yukan was stunned. 5,000 warriors above level 5? Are they all Jin Yiwei? And there are 9 9th grade warriors and 2 Grand Masters. Chener has actually created such a huge force secretly. If there was such a force, then why did he pretend to be an uneducated waste when he was in the capital? Even if the princes in the capital have the support of various forces behind them, they are not like Lu Chen who directly controls a super force. With the support of this huge force, Lu Chen does not need to be afraid of those princes. If coupled with the support of the Chu family and the Jiangnan family, Lu Chen's position as prince is basically stable. Chu Yukan was confused for a moment. She couldn't figure out what the purpose of Tong Chen's pretending to be trash was. Of course, she didn't know that Lu Chen had just obtained the Jin Yiwei, so it was normal for her not to understand. Lu Chen asked Qin Yushan to introduce Jin Yiwei purely to Chu Yukan. Now that the introduction is over, it's time to get down to business. "Commander Qin, please show me the information that Jin Yiwei has collected recently." After Lu Chen finished speaking, the Jin Yiwei soldiers behind Qin Yushan came to Lu Chen carrying several large boxes. "Your Majesty, this is the information about the Great Xia Dynasty that Jin Yiwei has collected this year. Please take a look at it." Seeing the information in so many boxes, Lu Chen was stunned for a moment. He would definitely not be able to read it all today. Then he said to Qin Yushan, "Move this information to my study later." "Commander Qin, and me. Wang, please tell me if anything has happened in the capital recently." Seeing Lu Chen asking about matters in the capital, Qin Yushan immediately replied, "Your Majesty, my subordinate received a letter from a colleague in the capital yesterday. A major event has happened in the capital recently." After hearing this, Lu Chen and Chu Yukan's expressions immediately became serious. Qin Yushan continued to report, "The remnants of the Chen kingdom failed to assassinate His Majesty and fled the capital. Although His Majesty had sent people to search the entire capital, no trace of the assassins was found. In the end, His Majesty's shadow guards found out that they were generals from Duke Mu's mansion. Those assassins were sent out of the capital. Now the entire Duke Mu's mansion has been imprisoned and is awaiting trial." After hearing what Qin Yushan reported, Lu Chen's brain was stunned. He didn't expect that his cheap father-in-law would get into trouble again so soon. Chapter 43 Intelligence from the Capital. When the Zhou family rebelled, Duke Mu's mansion was implicated once. That time Mu Chongtian took out the Iron Scroll to save the entire Duke Mu's mansion. It had only been more than a year before something like this happened again in Mu Qiagong's mansion. Lu Chen somewhat doubted whether his father-in-law was really that stupid. Even if he was really rebellious, he wouldn't have colluded with the remnants of the Chen kingdom again in such a short period of time. He is not a fool. Now Emperor Xia is in his prime, and his realm has broken through to the master realm. It will definitely not be a problem to live for more than 100 years. It would be so easy to assassinate Emperor Xia and overthrow the Xia dynasty. At this time, Chu Yuqin quickly said to Lu Chen, "Chener, Zixuan just gave birth to a child. She must not let her know about this." Although there is no such thing as postpartum depression in this era, people in this era also know that women are more emotionally sensitive after giving birth. If Mu Zixuan knew that the whole Mu family was imprisoned, it would probably affect her recovery. Lu Chen said, "Yes, I understand." Speaking of this, Lu Chen looked at Qin Yushan and asked, "Commander Qin, is my father injured in any way?" Qin Yushan replied, "Back to your majesty was not injured. It is said that when the remnants of the Chen kingdom assassinated your majesty, the imperial master was in front of your majesty." Hearing this, Lu Chen laughed. Then he said, "Are these remnants of the Chen kingdom really so stupid? How dare they assassinate a grand master in front of a great master?" Although Situ Ce has never said that he is a grand master, it is no secret that he is a grand master. After all, he was the pillar of the Great Xia Dynasty. Without the strength of the grand master, how could he be called the pillar of the country? When the remnants of the Chen kingdom assassinated Emperor Xia, did they really not do any homework at all? Lu Chen continued to ask, "How many assassins did the remnants of the Chen kingdom send to assassinate my father? What is the strength of these assassins?" Qin Yushan replied, "According to the intelligence collected by colleagues in the capital, the remnants of the Chen kingdom sent a total of 30 assassins to lurk into the palace. Most of these assassins are around the 6th level, and the strongest among them is half-step master. There are 2 half-step masters in total." After hearing Qin Yushan's report, Lu Chen didn't know how to complain. Send 30 assassins and 2 half-step masters to assassinate a grand master in a heavily guarded place like the palace. Moreover, they didn't ask beforehand whether there were any powerful people around the emperor. There was something wrong with the minds of these assassins. Lu Chen even doubted whether these remnants of the Chen kingdom were really remnants of the Chen kingdom. Lu Chen immediately asked, "Have Jin Yiwei investigated these remnants of the Chen kingdom? Are they really the remnants of the Chen kingdom?" Qin Yushan said, "Back to your lord." Commander Liang sent people to investigate and confirmed that the remnants of the Chen state had indeed entered the palace. However, after Commander Liang's investigation, I am afraid that the escape of the remnants of the Chen state from the capital has nothing to do with Duke Mu's mansion. Qin Yushan also knew what Lu Chen wanted to know, so he directly told Liang Zong's investigation. After hearing Qin Yushan's words, Lu Chen fell into silence. Emperor Xia first used the Zhou family's rebellion to make a fuss and took away the death-free iron scroll from Mu Qiagong's mansion, then relieved Mu Chongtian of his military power, and finally disbanded the Huban army and assigned the officers and soldiers of the Huban army to other military camps. Now he is using the remnants of the Chen kingdom to imprison the whole family of Duke Mu. His father is planning to get rid of the trouble and kill the donkey. Even if Lu Chen was a political novice, he basically understood what Emperor Xia wanted to do. Mu Chongtian and Zhou Wangtian, who rebelled more than a year ago, are known as the 2 kings of the Great Xia Dynasty. Now that Zhou Wangtian has been destroyed, there is another Mu Chongtian who is about to die. With the destruction of their 2 kings, Emperor Xia's control over the Great Xia Dynasty reached a level never seen before in the history of the Great Xia Dynasty. He took all the military power into his own hands. What was he planning to do? Seeing that Lu Chen didn't speak for a long time, Chu Yuqin sighed and said, "Chener, your father is probably planning to take action against the noble family." Hearing this, Lu Chen reacted. "My father, the emperor, is trying every means to take back military power. He must have something to do. Otherwise, why would he risk destabilizing the country and go all out to take back military power? If you want to attack a noble family, you really need to have soldiers on hand. I didn't expect that my father would have such courage. Throughout the dynasties, not many emperors dared to attack aristocratic families casually. It is said that a 1,000-year-old family, a 100-year dynasty. Even if a dynasty is overthrown, those families will still exist, and it has become common for aristocratic families to monopolize the court. Lu Chen had to admire his father for being so motivated. But then again, his current situation is a bit embarrassing. First of all, his mother's family comes from the Chu family, the largest of the Jiangnan aristocratic families. Secondly, his princess is Mu Changtian's daughter. Lu Chen then looked at Qin Yushan and asked, "Has the court said what to do with my princess?" Qin Yushan replied, "This issue has been debated several times in the court. The 8th prince's faction believed that the princess should be brought back to the capital to deal with it together, while the eldest prince believed that the princess was already the prince's wife and should not continue to be regarded as Duke Mu. People from the government." Lu Chen said with a smile, "I didn't expect that there would be people in the capital speaking for this good-for-nothing prince like me." At this moment, a royal soldier entered the martial arts training ground. "Your Majesty, there is a warrior outside who claims to be Jin Yiwei, asking to see him." Having said this, the royal soldier glanced at the guards in royal robes on the martial arts training ground, and then continued, "That man is wearing the same clothes as them." Lu Chen said directly, "Let him come in." "Yes, Your Majesty." Afterwards, the royal soldiers entered the martial arts training ground with the later armored guard. When the Jin Yiwei soldier saw Lu Chen, he immediately knelt down and said, "See you, Your Majesty." Lu Chen said, "Get up." Lu Chen originally thought that the Jinyi guard had just arrived at the palace because of the long distance, but after the Jinyi guard stood up, he immediately took out a bamboo tube from his waist and handed it to Lu Chen. "Your Majesty, I have received a letter from the capital. The Duke of Mu is suspected of colluding with the remnants of the Chen state and has been exiled to the northwest by His Majesty." Lu Chen was a little surprised. He had just taken over Jinyiwei and the Jinyiwei intelligence agency was already in operation. Lu Chen immediately took the bamboo tube from the Jinyi guard soldier, took out a piece of information from it, and read it carefully. Through the content of the intelligence, Lu Chen instantly understood that this was a routine exchange of information between Jin Yiwei, and it was not because the Jin Yiwei in the capital knew in advance that he, the Northern King, was their master. Seeing that Lu Chen's face was a little solemn, Chu Yukan asked, "Chener, what's wrong?" Lu Chen replied, "Commander Liang said in this intelligence that when Mu Qiagong was exiled to the northwest, he would be assassinated by many forces. Now that Mu Qiagong's skills have been abolished, he is just an ordinary person. Mu Qiagong's mansion, the whole family will probably not be able to make it to the northwest." Chapter 44 Prince? Which prince? Officials in ancient times were generally the most likely to get into trouble on their way to exile. The power in the hands of the exiled official is gone, and those who usually offend him are no longer afraid of him. Those enemies are likely to send murderers to kill the exiled official in retaliation. Moreover, the political opponents who are still in the court do not want these exiled people to eventually return to the court, and will try their best to kill the exiled officials. What's more, Mu Changtian was a general who once had a great reputation in the Huban army. Back then, Mu Changtian offended many people in order to help Emperor Xia fight for the throne. These people all want to kill Mu Changtian. Mu Changtian is now a tiger with his teeth pulled out, and his enemy will not let this opportunity pass him by. What Lu Chen is thinking now is whether to save his cheap father-in-law. With his current strength, if he wants to save him, it is not impossible. After all, he already has Jin Yiwei in his hands. Moreover, Mu Changtian was the father of his own princess, so it would not be good if he just refused to save her. After a long while, Lu Chen asked, "If you are exiled to the northwest, it shouldn't be that far from Beijing, right?" Qin Yushan replied, "Yes, Your Majesty." Lu Chen glanced at the information in his hand again, and then said, "This information came here 4 days ago. I am afraid that Duke Mu's family is already on the way to be exiled. If I want to save their family, I don't know where to come. Not in time." Hearing Lu Chen's words, Qin Yushan immediately said, "Please rest assured, Your Majesty, I believe Commander Liang Zong should know what to do after learning that you are the master. If Liang Zong didn't know that his master was the king of the north, he would definitely not rescue Duke Mu's mansion. But since he already knows that the master of their Jin Yiwei is King Bei, and Duke Mu is the father-in-law of King Bei, he will definitely take action to rescue Duke Mu's mansion as soon as possible, and then wait for the next order from King Bei." Lu Chen thought for a while, and now he could only hope that the commander of the Jin Yiwei, whom he had not met, would understand something. Then Lu Chen said to Qin Yushan, "Send a message to Commander Liang and ask him to rescue Mu Kuogong's family and try to disguise them as dead, and then find a way to send them to Beijing." Qin Yushan clasped his fists and said, "Yes, Your Majesty." Lu Chen glanced at the heads of the 4 major Jin Yiwei organizations at this time, and then said, "Jin Yiwei cannot appear in public for the time being. Whatever you were doing before, you will continue to do what you will do next. Although the Jin Yi guards are nothing compared to the shadow guards of the Great Xia Dynasty. But as a prince on the border, with such a large and complete intelligence agency, this will obviously arouse suspicion from others. As a prince, he sent people to lurk in various counties of the Great Xia Dynasty to monitor officials and collect intelligence. What did he want to do? It's not obvious that they want to rebel. Lu Chen is not that stupid. Jin Yiwei can just continue to hide in the dark." At the same time, Beijing Heavenly Prison. A tall and powerful middle-aged man wearing a prison uniform was being tied to the prison frame. The man's hair was disheveled and his face looked very tired. After learning that he was about to be exiled, Mu Chongtian couldn't help laughing. "Ha ha ha ha, ridiculous, really ridiculous. Lu Xingqiu, in order to save you, I risked my life and led 100 people deep into the enemy's territory to desperately bring you out. I also supported you with everything I had when you were fighting for the throne. Unexpectedly, I failed. Here's what happened today. The heart of an emperor has been indifferent since ancient times. Today I have seen it." The cells next to Mu Chongtian were incarcerated with family members of Duke Mu's mansion. After Mu Chongtian finished speaking, a young man in prison clothes asked, "Dad, can we reach the northwest alive?" The young man who spoke was Mu Changtian's second son Mu Xingping, who was also Mu Zixuan's second brother. He had lived in Mu Kuogong's mansion since he was a child and was relatively sensitive to politics, so he knew very well that his family's exile to the northwest was just an excuse. Emperor Xia would definitely not let them reach the northwest safely. Even if Emperor Xia didn't kill them, the former enemies of Duke Mu's mansion would not let them survive safely. Now all the men in their family have lost their martial arts and are all ordinary people. If they are assassinated by warriors on the road, they have no ability to resist. After hearing what his second son said, Mu Chongtian fell into silence. Because he also knew that Emperor Xia would not see him reach the northwest alive, and his enemies would not let him continue to live. He and his family would die in the exile road. Emperor Xia did not kill them directly, but chose to exile their whole family. He was just afraid that others would say that he killed the hero, and that people would poke his spine. At this time, Mu Changtian's eldest son Mu Jingguo said, "Dad, my little sister won't be implicated, right? There is no doubt that these people are going to die. Mu Jingguo is only worried that his sister, who is married to King Bei, will also be implicated." Hearing this, Mu Chongtian sighed and still did not speak. King Bei is just an uneducated waste, and his character is also relatively weak and incompetent. He heard that after King Bei went to Beijing, he raised many women in the palace and had fun every day. His daughters took care of the entire palace. Judging from the character of King Bei, even if the court did not deal with his daughter, King Bei might be afraid of the court's punishment and drive his daughter out of the palace, or directly divorce his wife. After everyone in Duke Mu's palace died, Mu Zixuan would be helpless, and King Bei wouldn't have to worry about anyone causing trouble for him. When Mu Chongtian thinks about his daughter's future situation, he feels hatred in his heart. He was really blind back then, so he chose to support Lu Xingqiu, a white-eyed wolf, to the throne. At this time, a jailer opened the cell where Mu Chongtian was held alone. At this time, a man walked in and said to the jailer next to him, "You go out first. I have a few words to speak to Mu." "Okay, cell boss." Then the jailer left the cell, leaving only the man to the south of Mu Chongtian. When the Mu family members in the next cell saw someone entering Mu Changtian's cell, they all looked towards Mu Chongtian. Mu Chongtian took a look at the man in front of him, chuckled and said, "Is it Lu Xingqiu who asked you to come?" When the man was about to die, Mu Chongtian no longer respected Emperor Xia so much that he directly called him by his name. Hearing this, the man just smiled. Then he walked up to Mu Chongtian and opened all the iron locks that locked Mu Chongtian. Seeing this scene, the Mu family members were a little confused and didn't know why the cell leader did this. At this time, the prison head said, "Mr. Mu, please introduce yourself." The younger one's name is Zhao Hong, and he belongs to the prince. Hearing this, Mu Chongtian was filled with doubts. "Prince? That prince? Is there any prince who dares to send someone to contact him now?" He was about to be exiled, and he didn't believe that those princes didn't know what his exile meant. If a prince came to contact him at this time, Emperor Xia would definitely be dissatisfied. By then, let alone being grounded, he might even lose his throne. After Mu Chongtian was unchained, he moved his whole body. He was about to ask Zhao Hong which prince he was when he saw Zhao Hong took out 3 bottles and said, "These are 3 great rejuvenation pills. After taking them, they can restore 90% of the skill." Hearing this, Mu Chongtian was stunned. Subscribe to Chinese Novel Audio Wave. Chapter 45 Chen Wanrong, I will plant love poison in him. As a former master warrior, it was impossible for Mu Chongtian not to know what the Great Return Pill was. But he had only heard of it before, never seen it before. It is rumored that the Great Return Pill can bring people back to life and completely restore a person's skills. Although the rumors are a bit exaggerated, it is definitely no problem to restore the power. There is a Great Return Pill in the palace. Mu Chongtian looked at the 3 small porcelain bottles in Zhao Hong's hand in disbelief. After Mu Chongtian was silent for a moment, he sneered and said, "I didn't expect that some people couldn't wait so quickly. They planned to attack me before we even left the capital. It's already this time, how could someone come to save them and give them a panacea like the Great Return Pill? Obviously, someone planned to attack them in advance and poison him with poison. What kind of bullshit is Da Huan Dan? It's clearly poison." Mu Chongtian then said, "Tell me, who sent you here? If it were Lu Xingqiu, haha, I would rather die on the road than take the poison he gave me." Seeing that Mu Chongtian seemed to have misunderstood what he meant, Zhao Hong said with a smile, "Mr. Mu, you have misunderstood. Those who want to kill you will not let you die in a prison. The Great Return Pill in the little one's hand is indeed real. As for which prince gave it to you, you will know it soon. If you still want to see your daughter, it is best to take the Great Return Pill immediately. Strive to regain full strength before being exiled." If Zhao Hong now said that the Great Return Pill was given to Mu Chongtian by the Northern King, Mu Chongtian would probably not believe it even more. After all, the image of the Northern King as a waste has been deeply rooted in the hearts of the people. Hearing Zhao Hong mention his daughter, Mu Chongtian was stunned for a moment. At this time, Mu Jingguo in the next cell said, "Dad, give it to me. I'll take it first. Even if it's poison, I accept it. We won't live for a few days anyway." Mu Chongtian looked at the small porcelain bottle handmade by Zhao Hong again. After pondering for a moment, he finally grabbed the porcelain bottle from Zhao Hong's hand, then opened a bottle and threw the elixir inside into his mouth. Just when Mu Chongtian was ready to face death, he found that his internal strength began to recover, and he suddenly felt extremely comfortable. Soon, he felt that his skills were back. Although he had not fully recovered, he now had the strength of a 9th-grade warrior. Mu Chongtian looked at the 2 small porcelain bottles left in his hands in disbelief. Is this really the Great Return Pill? How can this be? The Great Returning Pill can only be found in the palace. Even the Great Master would covet this kind of elixir that could restore one's skill, let alone the Master. One pill is already extremely precious, but now the prison boss in front of me actually gave him 3 pills. If people knew that there were 3 Great Return Pills among the people, the whole capital would probably be in chaos. Such a precious pill was actually given by a prince? Etc. Mu Chongtian seemed to have thought of something. The prison leader in front of him seemed to just say that this was a pill given to him by a certain prince, but he did not say that this prince was the child of Emperor Xia. There were quite a few princes in the Great Xia Dynasty, and it was not only the current prince who could be crowned king, but also a certain vassal prince. Is it possible that a feudal king wants to rebel, so he plans to win over him? Thinking of this, Mu Chongtian instantly confirmed his thoughts. This must be the case, otherwise how could the other party be willing to use the Sanmei Dawandan to help him and his 2 sons recover their skills? But having said that, even if the prince wanted to rebel, it didn't matter to him. Lu Xingqiu is just a white-eyed wolf, so what if he goes against him? Thinking of this, Mu Chongtian immediately said to Zhao Hong, "Thank you very much. I will go back and tell your prince that no matter what he wants me to do, I, Mu Chongtian, will accompany him." Having said this, Mu Chongtian threw the 2 small porcelain bottles in his hands to Mu Jingguo and Mu Xingping in the next cell. After Mu Jingguo and Mu Xingping took the small porcelain bottle, they drank it without saying a word. When the 2 of them felt the power restored in their bodies, they also showed expressions of disbelief. This is actually not poison, but a real Great Return elixir? So, their father has also recovered his skills? If this is the case, they can resist a little bit on the way and avoid being massacred one-sidedly by others. As for whether they can reach the northwest alive, it just depends on fate. Zhao Hong said, "Okay, Duke Mu, I will convey your words to the prince. I won't bother you little ones." Then Zhao Hong turned around and left the cell. After the cell was closed again, Mu Xingping immediately asked, "Dad, which prince is it that dares to give us the elixir at this time, and it is also the rumored Great Return elixir?" Mu Chongtian was silent for a moment, and then said, "It seems that some vassal kings can't sit still, and want to take advantage of Lu Xingqiu to deal with the aristocratic family, and unite the aristocratic families to rebel against Lu Xingqiu." The aristocratic family had long known that Lu Xingqiu might take action against them, so they could not sit still and wait for death. The most likely possibility was that they would support a certain vassal king, and then overthrow Lu Xingqiu's rule and replace him with another person as emperor. Just like how the aristocratic family helped Lu Xingqiu ascend to the throne. After hearing what Mu Chongtian said, Mu Jingguo asked from the side, "Dad, what should we do?" Mu Chongtian chuckled and said, "What should I do? I was the one who sent Lu Xingqiu to the throne. Since he has turned his back on me, don't blame me for pulling him down." Mu Chongtian has already thought about it. If someone really wants to go against the grain, then he will definitely support that person. Obviously, these 3 Great Return Pills are the sincerity of the other party, otherwise the other party would not be able to send such precious pills to them. I just don't know who that prince is. There were not many vassal kings in Daxia who had the ability to rebel. Although Daxia gave some princes great rights, Lu Xingqiu liked to add sand to those fiefdoms that had greater potential for development. If you really can't control it, just let the shadow guards take action to solve the possible disaster in advance. It's not like Lu Xingkai, who has never done this kind of thing. Mu Chongtian knew that a prince was killed by Lu Xingkai's shadow guard. After that prince was killed by the shadow guard, the court also shifted all the responsibility to the feudal prince's fiefdom. According to his long history, he imprisoned the feudal king with the intention of treason. After thinking for a moment, Mu Chongtian finally didn't expect that the vassal king would win over him, so he had to give up. Anyway, after he went out, he would know who was trying to win over him. At the same time, Swanyu Palace. In the gauze tent, filled with smoke, a woman in white plain clothes was sitting in front of the guqin, playing the guqin seriously. The woman was tall and graceful. At this time, the breeze blew, blowing the gauze in front of the door, revealing some of the woman's beautiful moon face. The beautiful woman Sai Shuang Shensu has no flaw in her beautiful face, and her snow-white face reveals a bit of coldness. She is like a goddess from the 9 heavens, a fairy descending to earth. At this time, a beautiful woman wearing purple clothes entered the room. The melodious sound of the piano stopped as the woman arrived, and the woman asked, "Aunt Lin, is something wrong?" The woman's voice was cool and gentle. The beautiful woman asked, "Palace Master, do you really plan to go to Beijing?" After hearing this, Chen Wanrong stood up and slowly walked out of the gauze tent. At this time, her holy face came into view of the beautiful woman. Chen Wanrong said softly, "Only with the blood of Emperor Xia's children can the dragon spelling curse be made, and King Bei is the most accessible prince." Hearing this, the beautiful woman showed a slightly worried look on her face, "But I heard that King Bei is a lecherous person. He keeps many maids in the mansion and spends all day having fun. If he takes a fancy to you..." The woman did not continue. Chen Wanrong looked at the green mountains in the distance with an expressionless face, and said calmly, "People are easy to control only when they have desires. I will plant a love poison in him, and then control him to help us complete the dragon subduing curse." Hearing this, the beautiful woman sighed, and then said, "He is Chu Yu's child. If possible, I hope the palace master can save his life in the end." Chen Wanrong did not respond, but looked quietly into the distance. At this time, the breeze blew, causing her dress to sway. Chapter 46 Wang Qingkai reports intelligence. Lu Chen had no idea that he had been targeted by the remnants of the Chen kingdom. With the arrival of the Jin Yiwei, he became much busier. Jin Yiwei brought him too much information, and he checked the accumulated information in the study every day these days. I have to say that Jin Yiwei's abilities are really strong. Without the supervision of his master at all, Jin Yiwei actually investigated all the old events of the Great Xia Dynasty. For example, how his mother died back then, and how Emperor Xia, who was promoted to the throne by a noble family, and the noble family came to oppose each other step by step. At this time, Lu Chen was looking through Jin Yiwei's files, his brows furrowing as he flipped through them. According to Jin Yiwei's archives, the woman Emperor Xia loved was killed by his mother. Emperor Xia hated his mother very much, and he was also hated by Emperor Xia. So much so that when he was born, Emperor Xia even wanted to "You must get rid of your own flesh and blood." As for why her mother wanted to kill Emperor Xia's favorite woman, it wasn't because of the troubles in the harem, such as the fight between queens and so on. Lu Chen was not interested in those things. What he was interested in now was how to return to the capital. Judging from Emperor Xia's attitude towards him, he might have to resort to rebellion if he wanted to return to the capital in this life. Any prince can participate in the fight for the right to inherit the throne, but he, the northern king, has no chance of participating in the fight for the right to inherit the rightful son. It is absolutely impossible for Emperor Xia to allow him to return to the capital. "If you want to go back, I'm afraid only corpses can go back." At this time, a charming voice sounded outside the door. "My lord, are you there? I have something important to report." Hearing Wang Qingkai's voice, Lu Chen put down the information in his hand and said, forget it, there are too many things to solve in a short while. Let's take it slow. He still has plenty of time. Let's relax first. Come in. After Lu Chen finished speaking, Wang Qingkai, wearing a red gauze, entered the study with gentle steps. Today, Wang Qingkai has completely surrendered to Lu Chen. I don't know if it is because of the constant relationship with Lu Chen, but Wang Qingkai has become more and more charming, almost to the point of coquettishness. Her small nose, soft red lips, slender waist and body as white as jade, coupled with her warm body fragrance that always exudes, make people want to do something to her just by passing by her. What? If it weren't for the fact that Lu Chen was already a 9th level warrior, I'm afraid he would still pounce on Wang Qingkai when he saw him because of the influence of the Dragon Tiger pill. Of course, although Lu Chen has been able to control himself, Lu Chen will not give up cultivating a relationship with Wang Qingkai just because he can control himself. During the period when Mu Zixuan and the other 3 were pregnant, Wang Qingkai was basically taking care of him, and she would come to the palace almost every day. Compared to Mu Zixuan and the other 3, Lu Chen had a stronger impulse towards Wang Qingkai. I don't know if it was because of Wang Qingkai's status as the Warren, but Lu Chen was very excited when he thought that Wang Qingkai, the Warren who was admired by thousands of people, was just a female slave of his. It has to be said that sometimes identity is also a complement to appearance. After Wang Qingkai entered the study, she said softly, "I have met the prince." Lu Chen glanced at Wang Qingkai, then directly raised his hand to hold her beautiful hand, and pulled her down into his arms in an instant. Wang Qingkai did not resist and immediately sat in Lu Chen's arms. In front of this man, she has no ability to resist and does not need to resist. She is his slave girl and he can do whatever he wants to her. Lu Chen asked, "What do you want from me?" Wang Qingkai replied, "Your Majesty, the 8th prince sent a letter to the new family, saying that the owner of the Blood Moon Tower plans to personally come to Beijing to ask the new family to collect recent events in the palace, especially to find out about the mysterious master in the palace." Hearing this, Lu Chen was stunned for a moment. Hasn't he, the 8th emperor brother, given up yet? He has been in Beijing for so long. Logically speaking, he should know that no one from the Chu family has any contact with him, so why would he still come to trouble him? While stroking Wang Qingkai's body, Lu Chen asked, "The owner of Blood Moon Tower should have the strength of a Grand Master, right? Is he here to assassinate me?" Wang Qingkai replied, "The 8th prince did not tell the slave family. He just asked the slave family to report what the palace has been doing recently and whether there is any movement about the mysterious master." Lu Chen thought to himself that he, the 8th emperor brother, might not know that their father had already planned to take action against the Jiangnan family. At this time, he still wanted to get the support of the Chu family. Don't let him and the Chu family be abolished together. At this time, Wang Qingkai suddenly thought of something, and then continued, "By the way, Your Majesty, I also heard about something from the slave family." Lu Chen asked, "What's the matter?" The slave family heard that Duke Mu's family was exiled to the northwest. The intelligence agency of Yunyu Pavilion is also relatively strong, and Wang Qingkai will soon be able to know what is happening in the capital. After she learned about the affairs of Duke Mu's mansion, she thought that the princess was also the daughter of Duke Mu. Lu Chen would be more concerned about this matter, so she took the initiative to bring it up. But after hearing this, Lu Chen immediately said, "I already know about this." Wang Qingkai then said, "There is nothing wrong with the slave family." Having said this, Wang Qingkai moved her body slightly, and she felt a little uncomfortable sitting there. At this time, Lu Chen said with a smile, "No, you have one more thing. I just happened to be a little tired and wanted to relax." Hearing this, Wang Qingkai glanced at Lu Chen resentfully, got up and leaned on the table to help Lu Chen sort out the scattered information on the table. The host cultivates a relationship with Wang Qingkai once, the experience value of the qi refining technique is increased by 20, and the experience value of the rejuvenation hand is increased by 20. Congratulations to the host for breaking through the second level of the rejuvenation hand. After hearing the notification tone, Lu Chen glanced at Wang Qingkai, who had collapsed into a ball, feeling a little confused. It is more difficult for warriors to get pregnant, and he knows this. However, since Mu Zixuan and the others became pregnant, Wang Qingkai came to the palace almost every day, and Tiantiao cultivated a relationship with him. As a result, Wang Qingkai still had no child. Although Wang Qingkai is a 9th level warrior, is it too difficult to get pregnant? This has been almost a year. Is there something wrong with Wang Qingkai's health? Lu Chen would not think that there was something wrong with his body. After all, he was someone who had taken Dragon Tiger Pill and drank Dragon Phoenix Tea. It could only be that something was wrong with Wang Qingkai's body. Lu Chen thought for a moment, then used his rejuvenating hand to check Wang Qingkai's body. The rejuvenation hand has broken through to the second level. It is very easy for him to check whether a person's body has any hidden injuries or diseases. When he put his hand on Wang Qingkai's belly, the situation inside Wang Qingkai's body instantly appeared in his mind. Wang Qingkai has no physical problems at all, just like a normal woman. This is a bit strange. There was obviously nothing wrong with my health, but it turned out that it was so difficult to get pregnant. Is it possible that the achievement is really because she is a 9th grade warrior? Then wouldn't it be more difficult for me to get a beautiful woman pregnant in the future? At this moment, Wang Qingkai suddenly said, "My lord, when do you plan to eat your Aunt Chu? She has become more and more jealous recently, and she hates the slave family more and more." Hearing this, Lu Chen was startled, and then said with a smile, "What do you mean? Do you think I will do something disrespectful to her?" Wang Qingkai said. As soon as the prince heard the word Aunt Chu, he became even more fierce. "What do you need the slave family to think?" Lu Chen chuckled, and then said, "It seems that you still don't understand what a female slave is, and you dare to interfere in my affairs. I must educate you well today." "Ah! Your Majesty, I realize my mistake." "Well, good brother." Chapter 47 Lu Chen's Problem. When Wang Qingkai left Lu Chen's study, her clothes were disheveled, her hair was disheveled, and her face was flushed. Times degree times. It wobbles when I walk. Just as she was walking out of the main courtyard, she happened to bump into Chu Yukin, who was patrolling. Seeing Wang Qingkai's appearance, Chu Yukin knew that this foxy girl must have just gone to seduce her Chener. Chu Yukin said angrily, "Miss Wang, I heard that the business of your Beiwa building is very good. As the owner of Beiwa building, why are you running to the Wang mansion every day when you are not watching from Beiwa building?" Seeing Chu Yukin's jealous look, Wang Qingkai smiled knowingly. She knew very well why Chu Yukin disliked her. Wasn't it because she served King Bei every day, which made her feel envious? Then Wang Qingkai said, "Mrs. Chu, the princess and several ladies are pregnant, so only the slaves can serve the prince. You don't know how much pressure the prince is under. If the slaves don't come to serve the prince, how can you let Mrs. Chu help? Prince, please relax. If Mrs. Chu intends to help the prince relieve stress every day, then this slave will not come tomorrow." Upon hearing this, Chu Yukin's expression changed drastically, and then a gust of wind blew out of her body, causing her dress to dance wildly. "Wang Qingkai, you are just Chener's slave girl. I advise you not to talk nonsense. Otherwise, even if I kill you, I believe Chener won't say anything." Wang Qingkai smiled sweetly, and then said, "Mrs. Chu, if you really want to kill the slave, and no longer have the slave to serve the prince, I'm afraid you will really have to serve the prince every day." Hearing this, Chu Yukin was angry and ashamed, and a blush appeared on her face. "You." Seeing that Wang Qingkai was not afraid of her at all, Chu Yukin was too lazy to continue. She turned around and walked towards the other side of the palace, saying as she walked, It's just a tool used by Chener to release evil thoughts. How can I be angry with a tool? Hearing this, Wang Qingkai was not angry. She was indeed just a tool, but as long as she could make King Bei like her as a tool. Looking at Chu Yukin's plump figure, Wang Qingkai raised the corners of her mouth slightly and whispered, Mrs. Chu, the prince's patience is limited, and you will be in his bed soon. Although Chu Yukin has been trying to keep a distance from Lu Chen in the past 6 months, she is the leader of the inner court guards after all, and she is responsible for protecting Lu Chen's safety. So from time to time Chu Yukin would encounter scenes where Lu Chen caught Wang Qingkai tossing him. Wang Qingkai knew very well that every time he saw Chu Yukin, or mentioned Chu Yukin in front of him, Lu Chen's whole body was filled with emotion. Her anger became even more intense, as if she had changed into a completely different person, becoming extremely crazy, and she was also unlucky. It's obvious that Lu Chen's desire for Chu Yukin is growing day by day. Now he can still suppress his inner desire, but it won't necessarily be the case as time goes by. Maybe one day by accident, the two of them bumped into each other, but Chu Yukin didn't run away and was eaten up and wiped clean. After Chu Yukin's figure disappeared from sight, Wang Qingkai turned around and continued to leave the yard, but as soon as she turned around, she saw Mu Zixuan again. After Mu Zixuan gave birth, she rested for a while. Now she has basically recovered and is able to get out of bed and walk. Unlike when facing Chu Yukin, Wang Qingkai still respected the Princess Mu Zixuan very much. After seeing Mu Zixuan, Wang Qingkai immediately said, I have met the princess. Mu Zixuan smiled slightly, nodded and said, Miss Wang, please get up. Mu Zixuan knew that Wang Qingkai was Lu Chen's plaything, so she didn't care at all about Wang Qingkai's frequent visits to the inner courtyard. This is the case in this era. Most mistresses don't care if their husbands have concubines or female slaves. The same is true for Mu Zixuan. Mu Zixuan asked at this time, is the prince inside? Wang Qingkai replied, Your Majesty is in the study now. Mu Zixuan said, Okay, Miss Wang, just go and do whatever you want. I will go and see the prince. Mu Zixuan now looks more and more like a princess, and her words and actions reveal the aura of a superior. Wang Qingkai was about to leave when something suddenly occurred to her, and she immediately said, By the way, princess, I have something to trouble the princess. I wonder if the princess is willing to listen. Hearing this, Mu Zixuan asked doubtfully, What's the matter? Miss Wang, please tell me. Wang Qingkai looked at the location of Lu Chen's study, and then said, Princess, is it time for the prince to take a concubine? The princess will be like a slave and talk too much. Ever since Lu Chen's wife and concubine became pregnant, Wang Qingkai had been serving Lu Chen every day. Even if she was a 9th level warrior, she couldn't handle it. Now that Mu Zixuan has just given birth to a child, it is impossible for her to serve Lu Chen. Then she, a slave girl, will continue to serve Lu Chen. Although she was just a slave girl and it was not her responsibility to take concubines, she couldn't bear it anymore. She believed that Mu Zixuan was a relatively generous person and would not stop Lu Chen from taking concubines. Besides, the few wives and concubines that Bei King had were simply not enough to serve the Bei King. As a princess, Mu Zixuan could not always serve him. Don't give Lu Chen a concubine. Hearing Wang Qingkai's words, Mu Zixuan reacted instantly. She knew that Wang Qingkai must not be able to bear it anymore. Mu Zixuan thought in her heart that even a 9th grade warrior could not bear it, and her husband's physique was too strong. When she married Lu Chen in the capital, she thought that Lu Chen was a young man whose body had been drained by drinking and sex, and that his body should be very weak. Now it seems. Mu Zixuan sighed, and then said, Miss Wang, I will bring up the matter of the prince taking concubines, so you can go back without worry. Wang Qingkai immediately thanked her and said, Thank you very much, princess. Slave, please leave. Then Wang Qingkai turned around and left the yard. At the same time, Lu Chen, who had just left the study, spotted Chu Yukin who was blushing all over, so he immediately stopped her and said, "Aunt Chu, wait a moment, I have a question to ask you." Hearing this, Chu Yukin immediately stopped. She turned to look at Lu Chen and asked doubtfully, "Chener, what do you want from me?" Lu Chen asked, "Aunt Chu, I remember that the higher the level of a warrior, the harder it is to get pregnant, right?" Chu Yukin said, "That's right, what's wrong?" Chu Yukin felt a little nervous. Why did Chener suddenly ask this question? Is he still planning on me? After all, she seemed to be the only female warrior who was close to Lu Chen in the inner courtyard of the palace. Lu Chen said at this time, "Wang Qing and I have had sex so many times, but she still hasn't gotten pregnant, but there is nothing wrong with her body. Even if the higher the level of a warrior, the harder it is to get pregnant, but it's not like half a year has passed and her body still hasn't responded at all, right?" Chu Yukin was relieved when she heard Lu Chen talking about Wang Qingkai. It turned out that he was talking about Wang Qingkai, and she thought that Lu Chen was trying to trick her. Chu Yukin smiled and then replied, "Chener, don't you know that warriors above the 5th level can use their internal power to expel some impurities from the body? Many warriors have been poisoned. As long as the poison is not very violent, they can use their internal power to expel it." Chapter 48 Then I'll trouble Aunt Chu. Lu Chen was slightly stunned when he heard Chu Yukin's answer. Is that so? He asked why Wang Qingkai had no health problems, but after more than half a year, her stomach didn't react at all. Okay. This slave girl actually dared to expel the feelings she conveyed to her without authorization? Next time he sees her, he must give her a good deal and let her know how good he is as a master. This guy actually hid it from me for more than half a year. He even wondered for a while whether there was something wrong with his body, and it was her problem that he had been doing for a long time. Chu Yukin reminded her at this time, "Chener, although Wang Qingkai is a 9th grade warrior, but her identity is the Warren of Beiwa Tower. If it's just for fun, there's no problem, but if you want to take her as your concubine, if you do, I'm afraid it will affect your reputation." Chu Yukin did have some prejudices against Wang Qingkai, but her reminder was not unreasonable. In this era, status is very important. Even if an Warren becomes a good person or is bought back by a wealthy family, most of them cannot become concubines. What's more, Lu Chen is still a prince. If a prince takes an Warren as his concubine, people will laugh at him if it is spread. Hearing Chu Yukin's reminder, Lu Chen said with a smile, "Aunt Chu, don't you think taking her as my concubine can buy me more time to grow up?" Hearing Lu Chen's words, Chu Yukin was stunned for a moment, and then asked, "You mean you want to continue to taint yourself, paralyze the court, and make the court think that you are still the good-for-nothing prince?" Lu Chen said, "These are troubled times. Although Beijun is not under the attention of the court, there are still many people staring at Beijun. My every move is particularly important." Chu Yukin thought for a moment, sighed softly and said, "Chener, you have grown up now and have your own ideas. Just do whatever you want to do. If you have any trouble, you can talk to your aunt and I will persuade you. Your grandpa, let him help you." Hearing this, Lu Chen smiled and said, "Aunt Chu, I did encounter a problem recently." Chu Yukin asked with concern, "What's the trouble?" Lu Chen replied, "When I was practicing martial arts recently, I always felt that there was a qi hovering in the danshan in my body. This made me feel very uncomfortable. How about you check it for me and see what's going on?" Hearing this, Chu Yukin was stunned for a moment. When Lu Chen was young, she often checked Lu Chen's body, but now that Lu Chen is so old and has his own princess, it would be inappropriate for her to check him at this time. After all, we are adults, and there are differences between men and women. Chu Yukin thought for a while and then said, "Chener, you are an adult now. It is not appropriate for my aunt to check your body again. I will ask General Li to check you later." He should be able to tell that it is something is wrong. After hearing this, Lu Chen said, Aunt Chu, General Li is only an 8th level warrior, and he just broke through to the 8th level not long ago. He has no experience as you. Chu Yukin then said, don't you still have Jinyi guards? Commander Qin should still be in Yanchanj. He is the master, let him check. Chu Yukin said she had no intention of checking Lu Chen's body in person because she was afraid that there would be another close contact later. After hearing Chu Yukin's words, Lu Chen sighed deeply, and then said, oh, I understand, Aunt Chu dislikes me. Chu Yukin immediately said, Chener, how can you say that? I am your aunt, how can I dislike you? Lu Chen said, you used to check my body when I was little, but now that I've grown up, you don't check me up anymore. Don't you dislike me? Hearing this, a blush appeared on Chu Yukin's face, and the blush even spread to her neck. Just as Chu Yukin was about to say something, Lu Chen turned around and said, Aunt Chu, forget it if you don't want to help me check. If something really happens, just die. You don't care about me anyway. Hearing this, Chu Yukin's brain froze, and then she said angrily, Chener, how can you talk about life and death at will? After the words fell, Chu Yukin raised her beautiful hand and grabbed Lu Chen's wrist. The corners of Lu Chen's mouth raised slightly, but his back was to Chu Yukin, so Chu Yukin couldn't see it. Lu Chen had already discovered that Chu Yukin had been trying every means to avoid him recently. Of course, Lu Chen also understood why. Chu Yukin was afraid of getting into trouble with her and eventually becoming his woman. After all, she is a relatively traditional woman and cannot accept this kind of thing for a while. After Chu Yukin grabbed Lu Chen's wrist, she sighed and said, go to the room, I'll take a look at it for you and help you regulate your internal strength. Chu Yukin had actually wanted to see how Lu Chen's body was doing for a long time. Although Lu Chen had a connection with the immortal, martial arts training was a personal matter after all, and no one knew whether something would go wrong. But when Chu Yukin thought about what happened before, and she knew that Lu Chen, a little villain, had been coveting her body, she could only suppress her inner thoughts and never offered to help Lu Chen. Look at the body. Seeing that Chu Yukin agreed, Lu Chen immediately said, then I'll trouble Aunt Chu. Then the two came to the study room. After smelling a strange smell in the study, Chu Yukin had a strange look on her face. What does this smell like? Why does it smell so bad? Although Chu Yukin is already 28, almost 29, she has never been exposed to that kind of thing, so she still doesn't understand some things. Lu Chen said calmly, this is the newly developed perfume of Wangfu. Chu Yukin said in surprise, perfume? No one would buy a perfume with this smell, right? At this point, Chu Yukin also smelled the air, and then continued, is it possible that you were exposed to this kind of perfume, which caused your body to have problems while practicing martial arts? Sometimes when martial arts training went wrong, it was often caused by the environment, so Chu Yukin wondered whether the smell was too pungent, which caused her Chener to have some physical problems while practicing martial arts. Lu Chen said, I don't know, maybe there is a reason for this. At this time, Chu Yukin glanced at Lu Chen, blushed, and said, take off your upper body clothes. I'll check the situation first. As soon as Chu Yukin finished speaking, Lu Chen skillfully took off his upper body clothes. Seeing this scene, Chu Yukin's face became hotter, as if she had a fever, and her ears were already red. As Lu Chen took off his upper body clothes, Lu Chen's strong body appeared in front of Chu Yukin. Seeing Lu Chen's orderly 8-pack abs, Chu Yukin was slightly stunned. When Lu Chen married Mu Zixuan, Chu Yukin checked Lu Chen's body once. At that time, Lu Chen didn't have obvious abdominal muscles, just a small belly. Now that Lu Chen actually has such obvious muscles, Chu Yukin feels a little incredible. Although she knew that Lu Chen was already a martial artist, she had never seen Lu Chen practice martial arts. A person who had not practiced martial arts had such strong muscles. Honestly, it's surprising. Chapter 49. Are you lying to your aunt? Although the muscles on Lu Chen's body are obvious, they are not particularly exaggerated, unlike those modern muscular men. Lu Chen's muscles were in perfect shape, and Chu Yukin felt a little confused when she saw his figure. Chu Yukin held back and said, "Chener, although you are already a martial artist, my aunt has never seen you practicing martial arts. Why is your body so strong?" Lu Chen smiled and replied, "Aunt Chu, who said I don't practice martial arts? Don't I practice martial arts every day these days?" Hearing this, Chu Yukin asked doubtfully, "Then why didn't I see it?" Lu Chen said, "I usually practice martial arts in my room, and I need Wang Qingkai's cooperation. It's normal that you didn't see it." Hearing this, Chu Yukin instantly understood what Lu Chen meant. She rolled her eyes at Lu Chen and said, "You little rascal, are you practicing martial arts?" Lu Chen said shamelessly, "Aunt Chu, you don't understand. There are many ways to practice martial arts." Chu Yukin snorted lightly and did not continue the topic with Lu Chen. "Chener, please tell me, you are uncomfortable in that position." After finishing her words, Chu Yukin looked at Lu Chen's abdominal muscles seriously. At this time, Lu Chen grabbed Chu Yukin's jade hand and placed it directly on his chest. "I get pain here from time to time, especially when I practice martial arts. It often hurts so much that I can't move." Seeing Lu Chen holding her hand, Chu Yukin subconsciously wanted to break away, but after hearing Lu Chen's words, Chu Yukin didn't take it to heart. She carefully sensed Lu Chen's situation. Now that she could transfer her internal energy to another person's body, she could easily detect symptoms in a person's body. After a while, Chu Yukin said to herself, "Strange, there seems to be no problem." After hearing Chu Yukin's words, Lu Chen said, "Aunt Chu, you must have felt wrong, right? How could there be no problem?" Speaking of this, Lu Chen suddenly thought of something, and then said with a surprised expression, "Hey, how strange! Aunt Chu, I don't know why, but after my danchan was touched by your hand, I didn't feel the burning pain anymore." Hearing this, Chu Yukin glanced at Lu Chen suspiciously, "Is it true?" Lu Chen said, "How could I lie to you?" At this moment, Lu Chen looked at his chest and said, "Aunt Chu, look, there is something strange on my chest." Hearing this, Chu Yukin's eyes instantly shifted from Lu Chen's face to Lu Chen's chest. At this time, she found that Lu Chen's chest was actually emitting green light. "What is this?" This was the first time Chu Yukin saw this situation. At this time, Lu Chen continued, "It's so amazing, Aunt Chu, the gas accumulated in my danchan has gradually dissipated, and it seems that my internal energy has also been channeled." Chu Yukin asked with confusion, "Really? But I didn't do anything." She just put her hand on Lu Chen's chest and then checked Lu Chen's body. She didn't help Lu Chen regulate his internal strength. In the end, Lu Chen's body healed on its own? Is there such a magical thing? Chu Yukin couldn't understand the current situation. At this time, Lu Chen said deceitfully, "Aunt Chu, I understand what is going on." Hearing Lu Chen's words, Chu Yukin quickly asked, "What's going on?" Lu Chen continued, "There is a special skill in the immortal magic I inherited. As long as a like-minded woman is with me, she can help me practice. Aunt Chu, you must have touched my body, so we indirectly had the conditions for dual cultivation. This made the chaotic energy in my body calm down and my internal energy became smoother." Chu Yukin looked at Lu Chen suspiciously, "Chener, you're not lying to your aunt, are you? Why do I feel that the exercise you are talking about is like the Hehuan exercise of the demon cult?" Lu Chen asked seriously, "Aunt Chu, haven't you ever thought about how the demon cult's Hehuan Gong came from? The demon cult's Hehuan Gong is harmful to people, but the immortal method I inherited is good for both parties. And as you can see, you just touched my body and helped me stabilize my internal strength, and you didn't suffer anything. Harm. Speaking of this, Lu Chen looked at Chu Yukin's beautiful eyes with piercing energy. I suspect that He Huanggong must be similar to the exercises I practice, but He Huanggong is incomplete, so it is harmful to people. And the skills on my body are complete, so there is no harm to both parties. Maybe someone stole the immortal skills back then, but what they stole was incomplete, so the demon sex Hehuan skill was created. After hearing Lu Chen's nonsense, Chu Yukin thought about it seriously and felt that it made sense. Then what should we do now? Chu Yukin asked with a red face. Her hand was still on Lu Chen's chest, and because she was too close to Lu Chen, she now felt extremely restless. The masculine aura of Lu Chen's body constantly stimulated her and impacted her heart. If this continues, the same thing as before might happen again. Lu Chen said at this time, Aunt Chu, since you can stabilize my internal strength by touching me, then you should stay close to me for a while. Chu Yukin thought for a moment and just put her hand against Chener's chest. As long as she didn't take the initiative to get closer, she should be fine. Thinking of this, Chu Yukin sighed and said, Okay, if you feel better, just tell your aunt. But at this moment, Lu Chen suddenly let out a wail, and with a sudden force on his hand, he held Chu Yukin's hand and pressed it firmly against his chest. Seeing this scene, Chu Yukin asked in panic, Chener, what's wrong with you? As soon as the words fell, Chu Yukin's body subconsciously came to Lu Chen, and then she quickly supported him with her other hand. Lu Chen showed a painful expression and said, Aunt Chu, maybe there were too many impurities accumulated in my body when I was practicing martial arts, and I couldn't clear them out for a while. Chu Yukin's rosy face instantly turned pale. Then what should we do now? Lu Chen said, Aunt Chu, if you hold me now, maybe you can use the special skills I practice to relieve the pain in my body. This. Hearing Lu Chen's words, Chu Yukin hesitated. After all, Lu Chen has grown up and is no longer a child. It is definitely not okay for him to have such close contact with him. But seeing Lu Chen in such pain, Chu Yukin couldn't bear it. Then Chu Yukin bit her lips lightly and said, Chener, tell me if you feel better. At this point, Chu Yukin took the initiative to hug Lu Chen's body. Lu Chen quickly controlled all his internal energy and stabilized his mind. He was already a 9th grade warrior and almost lost control. She was worthy of a woman with a score of 97. Then, the two of them hugged each other like this. After a while, Chu Yukin felt something was wrong. Her body was getting hotter and hotter, and she was getting more and more restless. Chu Yukin gritted her teeth and thought silently in her heart, this is Sister Yu's child, and she must not have any wrong thoughts. But the more she thought about it, the more panicked Chu Yukin became. Gradually, Chu Yukin's whole body softened. She was originally holding Lu Chen, but now it was Lu Chen holding her delicate body. Seeing Chu Yukin's appearance, Lu Chen knew that Long Feng Ti was working. Lu Chen thought in his heart, my good Aunt Chu, I have let you hide from me for more than half a year, but you can't hide from me today. Just when he was thinking this, a voice suddenly came from outside the door. My lord, are you in there? Chapter 50 Why don't the prince take a concubine? After hearing Music Xuan's voice, Chu Yukin, whose brain was already confused and obsessed, suddenly woke up. She quickly pushed Lu Chen hard and said anxiously, Chener, let go of Auntie, Zixuan is coming in. Lu Chen felt like crying but had no tears left. My good princess, when won't you come? Why did you come at this time? Then Lu Chen had no choice but to let go of Chu Yukin. However, Chu Yukin did not run away immediately. She looked at Lu Chen and asked with concern, Chener, are you feeling better now? Lu Chen nodded and said, well, it's much better. It seems that this is indeed useful. Aunt Chu, you must help me take care of my body regularly from now on. Chu Yukan said, "Can't you ask Zixuan and the others to help you?" Lu Chen said, "Zixuan and the others are not warriors and have no inner strength, so they are useless. However, King Kai seems to have no feelings for me and cannot meet the conditions for dual cultivation." Hearing Lu Chen's words, Chu Yukan felt that her brain was about to burn out. She quickly said, "Okay, if you feel uncomfortable in the future, just come to me. I'll go out first." Having said this, Chu Yukan immediately walked towards the door. When Mu Zixuan saw Chu Yukan opening the door, she was stunned for a moment. Chu Yukan quickly explained, "I checked Chener's body. You guys can chat while I leave first." As soon as the words fell, Chu Yukan ran away quickly. Seeing Chu Yukan's panicked back and her flushed face, Mu Zixuan instantly realized what had just happened. She turned to look at Lu Chen and apologized, "Your Majesty, it's all my fault for disturbing your good deeds. I will definitely pay attention to this in the future." Hearing this, Lu Chen smiled slightly, and then said, "It's okay, Aunt Chu and I just chatted and didn't do anything shameful. By the way, my beloved concubine, why did you come to see me?" Mu Zixuan immediately entered the study and replied, "Your Majesty." Mu Zixuan was about to speak when she suddenly smelled a pungent smell. As Lu Chen's princess, how could Mu Zixuan not know what this smell was? Mu Zixuan glanced at Lu Chen speechlessly, and said that she didn't do anything shameful just now, but the smell in this room was so strong. Seeing that Mu Zixuan suddenly stopped talking and seemed to have a strange expression on her face, Lu Chen knew that Mu Zixuan must have misunderstood, so he immediately added, "Oh, by the way, I have been here before." Hearing Lu Chen's words, Mu Zixuan realized that the smell in the room was caused by Wang Qingkai. Lu Chen continued, "My dear concubine, just tell me if you have anything to do." Mu Zixuan immediately said, "Your Majesty, I took over the palace's business today and found that our sales of soap and perfume in the capital have dropped significantly recently. I don't know what's going on." Lu Chen was stunned for a moment. He immediately came to Mu Zixuan, then hugged Mu Zixuan's body and said, "My dear concubine, you just gave birth to a child. Why don't you take a good rest and take over the palace's business so quickly?" Mu Zixuan said, "Your Majesty, I am idle in the palace, and Feng'er is taken care of." In ancient times, when the wives of high-ranking officials gave birth to a child, they usually hired a wet nurse, and the palace was no exception. After Mu Zixuan gave birth to a child, although she would also take care of the child, most of the time it would be taken care of by the palace's wet nurse and maids, and she would be more relaxed. Mu Zixuan is a person who can't sit still. She was a little tired of staying in the palace for so long because of her pregnancy, so she took over the palace's business again just after giving birth. Mu Zixuan continued to ask, "Your Majesty, I heard that you formed an organization to collect intelligence. Do you know what happened in the capital?" Although the Jin Yiwei did not appear in public, Mu Zixuan often saw some Jin Yiwei in the palace these days who came to report intelligence to Lu Chen, so she also knew something about the Jin Yiwei and knew that Lu Chen had formed an intelligence agency. Mu Zixuan just gave birth to a child, and Lu Chen would definitely not tell her about the affairs of Duke Mu's mansion. Lu Chen said at this time, "The capital city has been relatively turbulent recently. I heard that the commanders of the Forbidden Army have changed again and again. The poor business in the palace may also be related to the current situation." Mu Zixuan showed a thoughtful expression, and then said, "So that's it. I was telling you why the palace's business dropped so fast." Lu Chen basically knew the reason for the decline in the palace's business, and it was definitely not just because of the turbulent current situation. Soap, perfume, soap, these are all new things, and they sell very well in the capital and are very profitable. It is impossible for no one to covet them. In the past, Duke Mu's mansion was watching, so no one dared to take advantage of the shops in Bei Wangfu. But now that Duke Mu's family has been exiled, who is still afraid of Duke Mu's mansion? Moreover, the northern king was far away in Beijing and could not control the capital. Bei Wangfu's shop in the capital was probably either robbed or smashed. Some people may have started to wonder about the method of making soap and perfume. In the future, the palace's business philosophy must change. It is best to find local businessmen or high-ranking officials to cooperate and share some of the benefits with others, otherwise they will keep thinking about it. Thinking of this, Lu Chen said to Mu Zixuan, "My dear concubine, from now on our palace's business will not only be done in the capital, but also spread to other fiefdoms. When doing business in the future, try to give some gifts to the feudal lords, especially shares in the shops, otherwise others will always think about you." Hearing Lu Chen's reminder, Mu Zixuan instantly understood what Lu Chen meant. When doing business, you need to pay attention to the sophistication of the world, and some profits that should be given up must be given away. Mu Zixuan then said, "I will bear in mind the prince's reminder." Mu Zixuan suddenly thought of something at this time, and then said, "Your Majesty, there is something I don't know whether I should say." Lu Chen smiled slightly, then scratched the bridge of her delicate nose. "If there is anything else we can't talk about between husband and wife, tell me, what is it?" Mu Zixuan said, "Your Majesty, I have just given birth to a child, and the two sisters Xiao Xiao are also pregnant. As a result, Miss Wang is the only one to serve the prince. The prince's health is getting better and better recently, and Miss Wang seems to be unable to bear it any longer. Why don't you take a concubine for the prince?" Hearing Mu Zixuan mention Wang Qingkai, Lu Chen felt a little angry. Of course, he was not angry with Mu Zixuan, but thought that Wang Qingkai actually expelled his feelings from his body. After Lu Chen pondered for a moment, he said, "Since you have said so, my beloved concubine, then I will find time to take in a concubine. But there don't seem to be many beautiful women in North County. As you know, my beloved, although I am a lustful person, I only like stunning women. I don't have much interest in ordinary women." Hearing this, Mu Zixuan thought for a while, and then said, "Your Majesty, how about this? We send out a concubine summons letter and openly summon concubines to all the families in the Great Xia Dynasty. When the time comes, there will definitely be many families sending their daughters to the northern prince's mansion to choose concubines. As long as there are enough people, there will always be a woman who can impress the prince." Subscribe to Chinese Novel Audio Wave. Thank you.